Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan who's on a journey to know everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello there, and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. And, It's been a minute since the last catch-up, and it'll probably be more minutes till the next one after, because after the implementation of the tournament into the schedule, which might not be as popular of an idea, but it's an idea that's very fulfilling because it directly sort of benefits the people around, right? It's fun for the people around, it collabs and stuff, and it was something different that I wanted to try, especially me having a background of being a tournament organizer and that being one of my strengths. I absolutely wanted to put that to the test in the object show space, and the players are enjoying it, and I absolutely should, recommend you watch it. You can watch it even if you're not. One of them, play along, try to see what you would think of the shorts, how you would imagine it, right? Kind of like doing your whole thing, and I hope that the people who are looking into that content are enjoying it, because I really enjoy it personally, all right? But that has kind of put Catchup on a little bit of a problem board, because I have time. I have time to do catch-up, but I don't want to do it because I'm doing that, right? It's kind of one of those things where the amount of time I can allocate in my mind to object show related things, right, is only so much, right? Which means that when I'm doing the tournament, I kind of struggle a little bit with doing catch up on the side, and I realized that pretty much immediately, and I was like, all right, we got to do it on pause because this tournament stuff is taking over my mind, and I can't do catch up, and I can't want to do catch up. But it's been a bit. I feel like I can start to reintroduce it now that I'm a bit more used to how the situations go and with the tournament, and hopefully I can get that in alongside some other projects I want to do. So that is kind of the idea. In terms of the situation, majority of episodes will be keep up episodes being the episodes where we cover shows from previously covered creators, right? So that way we keep up with what they are doing. Now, of course, the request pool, I still have it. It's extremely far behind, of course, now by an additional 2 months. But, I'll try to get through that at some point as well. And then, of course, there's many actually big new releases that we will have to take a look at. But those will be on the back burner because at the end of the day, the shows that are previously covered, those take number one priority. Because, again, what's the point of covering a show if you're never going to rewatch it again? So that's absolutely the number one thing. In terms of how I will actually go through the backlog, I'm pretty much just going to do it based on vibes. I'm going to do it based on vibes. I'm going to do it basically like, I want to do this, then I'll do that. I'm not going to really choose an objective system in this case. I'm just going to do it based on how I'm feeling like it, alright? Which means that it is 100% biased. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is 100% biased. Alright. Well, we got to start off here with, of course, the big boy that released while I was gone, and it is BFDI 25. The BFDI 25 segment actually recorded right as BFDI 25 happened. By the way, I have the window open because it's so freaking warm. It's so warm, bro. So I absolutely do gotta keep the window open. So it might heat cars outside because I'm next to a busy road. But wait, this is the BFDI 25 segment, which I recorded right after BFDI 25. Of course, I was waiting to put in an episode. Here it is. So, yeah. Do I barely remember what happens? No, I don't. If we remember what happened to BFDI 24, in 24, they were trying to fetch the results for the last cake at stake after, they got lost. There was nobody wanted to host it. They ended up doing that. Nito ends up defeating Evil Leaf and getting a lot of aura from that. However, Book ends up finding us, the viewers, as well, and gets a lot of aura from that. So who's going to win at BFDIA? What do I think? What's next? Is it idea B? Well, we're going to find out. My thoughts and perceptions on it right after having watched BFDI 25. She deserves this. BFDIA 25. I have just finished watching this episode, and OMG, that is a big one. Absolutely, and it had to be, absolutely. I mean, if you observe, yes, this isn't the first BFDI finale in like 6 years because of BFDIE, it still feels like it. BFDIA is so much more important than BFDIE is, and in a weird way, it's significantly more important of a finale than the BFB finale. Now, some of you may argue that that's not true, but I think as BFB head into post-split, it kind of lost a little bit of its like monumentality because it kind of sped itself up too much, right? In a way, rarity makes things special, and BFDIA taken so long from its original existence back when there were basically nobody in the community, like basically nobody who's now in the community, other than of course the people who work on it, right? Seeing it now, right, it creates such a monumental event that realistically we will never see a season end with this much importance in a long while, right? But of course it has to keep the BFDIA principles, and BFDIA principles is non-serious, fun shenanigans, while still doing plot, of course, but it's all with it's all with a transparent veil, right? Like, it allows dumb stuff to happen to follow the plot, right? And it does that very much so in this episode right here. So we start off, well, first of all, with a tour promotion. Yes, the BFDI tour is indeed happening. Did you know? I will not be going because I am European, which is a very dangerous thing to be. If you're in the OSC, you will get nothing ever. So, you know, unfortunate for me. And I don't care about London. Okay, yes, I know London gets the theater screening and the thing. Okay, cool, bro. All right, London moment. But yeah, I know. Like, we're not global. All right, we're not international. All right, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what things the tour dates actually get. Because I mean, of course, they will be, I think, screening new II and new BFDI episodes at these. And it'll be interesting to see, because I know I've heard some people were kind of expecting the Teapot episodes, right, to drop by on these tour dates, right? Kind of like the 23, 24, 25. Kind of set, right? The Defeat 1 challenge. And that's interesting. I don't remember if they said this. I haven't kept myself up to date. It's been a couple of months. But it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how that plays out. But then we end up getting into the first scene. And of course, the first thing that's noticeable, this was the trailer scene, Pin gets the limbs, is that the animators are going off. The animators have pretty much been given a blank sheet of paper in terms of the rules, and they've just been like, animate. And hell yeah, they did. They understand the assignment, right? Like, they are very much so like, alright, we need a hella crazy good looking episode for the purposes of, first of all, it's a finale, it has to look special, it's a feeder episode, so it has to look good, and we just can, right? BFDIA a while ago experimented a bit with this idea, right? Because at the beginning, BFDIA, because now it looks so clear, right? BFDIA is the fluid animation, styles changing, animators are free to have fun, and you can feel it, right? Whereas Teapot is the more rigid styling, right? You can see it in the revisions that people sometimes post, right? And it's like, it feels so clear now, but you gotta remember it was the other way around, right? Because back in the BFDI resume, right, in BFDI 6, one of the big things that was hammering against a BFDIA return, or an IDFB return at the time, of course, which we know didn't happen, but like, was that it was going to look and feel so different, right? One of the most difficult things was how it had to kind of manage it, right? And therefore, at the time, it ended up kind of forcing itself onto that BFDIA style. It improved it a little bit, but it was very kind of like truncated, right? But as time evolved, it tried out, of course, giving more expression, giving more freedom, because that works, right? That just works. The BFDIA styling is absolutely benefited one-to-one by freedom, right? Because the BFDIA style was never consistent even back in the day. Even back in the day, the BFDIA style, of course, got randomly broken up by 3D, right? For no reason, and it was good, right? It cut between them, and it was fun. But of course, that was the extent of the limitations that they could do at the time. But now there's so much that can get done. So we're taking in that original philosophy and placing it back into BFDIA. And I think that's one of the most cool things about it. Like seeing that proper evolution into realizing what system works the absolute best for BFDIA. So I'm very happy that they're going this direction because it's so fun, right? Like some people might say it's exaggerated, but like it's... I mean, yeah, it is exaggerated, but exaggerated doesn't mean it's overdoing it. You know, like, it's doing it a lot. I don't know if it's overdoing it, you know? If there's any time you're gonna do it, I think it's now. I think it's perfectly suitable, right? A lot of people... No, like, one of the problems with finales is that finales, if they just feel like a regular episode, are underwhelming. So there we go. It doesn't feel like a regular episode because they go insane. Now, yes, they did, of course, do a lot of animation show off in the past episodes. Don't get me wrong. BFDI 24, we did a whole section about this, right? We did a whole section about the fact that the animators are free to do what they want. We're doing it again because this is the most extreme variant of it. BFDI 24, yeah, there's crazy visuals and stuff, but like it's nowhere near. Here, this is every scene. Every single scene. I don't know what scene is currently playing right now on the preview thing, right? But like, it's whatever it is. That scene looks good. That scene is an example because every scene is an example, right? And it's mad. It's proper mad. So yeah, it's absolutely the right approach for this episode. It's the right approach for BFDIA. And I'm glad that we got to see this final showcase because now they're limited back to the confined walls that is Teapot animation. This is a whole discussion, right, about Teapot, and like, should Teapot be more expressively free and be less style guide following? A little bit, I think. I think Teapot could have a bit more freedom of expression, I would say, because, like, why not? Right? Like, why not? It looks like less professional. What do you mean it looks like professional? I debated that this looks more professional, right? I mean, like, okay, it doesn't look as consistent. BFDI's consistency has never been the thing. I guess Teapot's a little bit more on the consistency side. But, like, I don't know. You can make shots look good without necessarily having inconsistencies of, like, oh, the needle and book randomly can bend 90 degrees as they want to, right? Like, you know, like you can do that without it. You can have like a face look a little different, you know, do something. But anyway, that's a different discussion. We're gonna be like me versus side tangents because there's so many side tangents to talk about here, right? There's just everything is a side tangent, but yeah, so we end up giving Pin some new limbs. They end up gaining them. We end up doing, of course, the gag with the middle finger and everything. And yeah, of course, Pin getting limbs, but lost the color, because that's the idea that we brought up at the BFDI 24 finale, and we do IDFB setup. IDFB setup is, of course, a big part of what this episode is, because we have to lead into it, right? A lot of it has been kind of subtly done here and there, right? By kind of like... you know, a couple episodes ago doing things like, of course, the limbs in the last episode. The video diary, I don't remember what episode the video diary started, but it definitely did start, like, a different time. It started a different time, the video diary. We're bringing it up again now. I wish it had a bit more of a presence in the BFD episode. I feel like it had kind of, like, 2 times it showed up other than this episode. I feel like it could have shown up a little bit more, because it feels like such a relevant kind of whiplash, right, into the IDB. But yeah, it does a lot of setup, mainly in the course of the later half of the episode, and we'll talk about IDFB sometime in this section. But yeah, and then we end up finding out what's going on with Leafy and Evil Leafy. So apparently, an Evil Leafy gets spawned when Leafy's when Leafy is mad. Okay, when Leafy is excessively angry, an evil Leafy kind of pops out of there, right, and proceeds to, of course, rummage around. Leafy doesn't know of that existence, or at least doesn't know that it happens, and this is how that works. Interesting. Is that a good system? I think it's kind of interesting. It's of course, I don't know if it necessarily. I'm the only thing I'd be a little bit debating is whether it applies to the very beginning, right? Like, does it apply to like the evil Leafy, the original evil Leafy that runs around BFDI from like 5B and stuff, right? Like, is that evil Leaf? How did that one get there? That's kind of the thing that I'm a bit confused. Because Leafy is like running around and then dips off to Yo-Yo Land, right? But like, that evil Leafy, I don't know how that one gets there. But of course, everything else is entirely reasonable, to be honest. I don't mind that at all. To be TBH, as Tennis Ball might say. the acronym is getting used. But yeah, it's I would say a pretty good system to explain evil Leafy, and of course the infinity of it. So yeah, it proceeds to, I think that means that evil Leafy can get treated as their own character in future votings, right? Ever. So that's kind of interesting for, like, any debut or region poll that ever might bring up, which I mean currently isn't gonna do that, but if it ever does, But either way, we proceed to go over to the finale. They end up finding the USB stick that gets given by I freaking what the hell is bro called? The Strange, okay, the guy from the video, the Jack and Jello, whatever. They end up finding a USB stick, which they for some reason don't know what it is. They don't know what a USB stick is, and nobody proceeds to tell them for an extremely long amount of time. The fact that Tennis Ball and Golf Ball are like just around the area the entire time that they're trying to figure out how the results thing work, and none of them manage to tell them that it's a USB stick is kind of crazy. And also, book is a dictionary. You should know whatever. I don't. I mean, I guess the dictionaries don't have pictures. Well, they do have pictures, right? Do they? I don't know. I mean, Pillow was reading the pictures at one time, right? But like, that implies that there are pictures. Well, whatever. But yeah, they proceed to go over to the Cake and Steak. And as they go over to the Cake and Steak, they proceed to find the abandoned city made for the beginning of the show. Now, just one thing that I am gonna say here, just a nitpick of the century, that is the same exact building copy-pasted over and over. Like, it is the same exact one. Because, like, the window crack, you can see the top right window of each one of these abandoned buildings, they're exactly the same place. It's exactly the same. This is not a problem. It's not a problem. I'm just pointing it out as an existing thing, okay? Alright? But either way, they proceed to go over, and they find the Cake and Steak area. Leafy is, of course, about to walk in, and as they do that, we end up having the contestants argue more because, Golf Ball tries to warn everybody that Leafy's coming, but Tennis Ball proceeds to stop. I mean, everybody stops him, to be honest. And as we do that, we end up having the start of the Cake and Steak officially, because we end up having the final Cake and Steak theme thing. It's crazy. I mean, absolutely. It's not a mashup. It's like it's a version. Right, it's a version. It does the 3D. It shows off the different Cake and Steak arenas, the different types of cakes together, combines it, puts it on. It's cool. Alright, it's cool. It's theater. Alright, it's theater coded. It's finale coded. It's what it needs to be. Like, in the technical aspect, there's almost not as much to say, because like, everything follows the guidebook of this is gonna look crazy because it's a theater finale. Right, which is like double crazy, right? So it has to look double crazy than it already would look, right? So then I just kind of combine it. So that's kind of thing. same thing goes for the other aspects, like voice acting and stuff. Some characters even have to do some unique things, like Rocky has to do mildly more noises than usual in this episode and stuff, and like shouts and like whatever, right? And they're again equally as expressive. The character, the only thing, okay, I'm gonna point this out. I don't know if anybody else noticed. It's just me, or is Pin specifically? Is the Pin microphone mildly different than the other ones? Like, I don't know if that's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm going insane, but I swear Pin audio quality was like mildly different. Like very mild. Like you can kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy, but I swear it felt a little different. I know the voice actor changed, but it felt different. I don't know. It was recorded in the living room instead of the closet. I don't know. It was different. All right. But yes, they proceed to discover how the vote counting works. It's a freaking fountain. They proceed to vote on who they think should win after the agreements between, of course, the relevant characters, not the failed debuters. We end up having a tie of 10-10. Dora talks a lot and gives a very nuanced explanation, calling us a loser for like a couple of frames. There's a lot of that in this episode, just like piles of text about or like not, yeah, it does a lot of that. It's yeah, it is. The writing of this episode in general is like, it's not the most classic, but it does put in some classic elements onto it, right? Like in general, it's just kind of trying to progress a plot that's like important to the show, but not super serious, right? And then doing that, but it's not like super classic, a lot of the classic things doesn't do them that much, right? It does it like one time, like for example, nerdy random shenanigans, like it does that like 2 times, I think, like the post credits and 1 time in the middle. And same thing goes for like a couple additional things, like of course the running gag, the 3D gag, like see, it only does it like 1 time each, so fair enough. And of course, I mean, look, we had BFDIA 23 for all of the callbacks, all right? Then Leafy proceeds to be up there, turns on the camera, and everybody proceeds to go insane. Leafy is entirely calm and wants to see the finale. I mean, you could like, well, I debate that you could go down there, but to be fair, you can't, because you're gonna get, of course, being demolished. And we end up having the main episode. Leafy is very angry, okay, because and they're spawning evil Leafies. Evil Leafies are chasing, right? And as they're doing that, we proceed to have the situation where they get distracted because they were about to chase Leafy, so they can give Leafy the death penalty. However, Fiery's like, yo, what tactic can I do to not let that happen? Because Fiery doesn't want Leafy to, die or whatever. So they proceed to be like, I am stealing Dream Island. They proceed to steal the Dream Island. They run away with it, right? And that's the episode. We're dealing with Leafy on one side, and we're dealing with evil Leafies and chasing Fiery on the other side, right? And then there's action everywhere, right? That's like the crux of it. That's the plot line for the episode. There needed to be a plot line for the episode. Of course, finales are always dangerous, right? They always have the risk of being a little awkward, right? In the way that they work, because of course there's not much to show. Right, in a finale, there's not much to show in a finale. Like for example, the BFDI original finale, like there's nothing there. There's nothing in the BFDI original finale other than like the island letting in. Like the last like 3 minutes of this episode are the equivalent of the entirety of the BFDI season 1 finale. Right, so they had to pull something off in the same way that they had to pull something off for BFDI 24. You can really see like the writing come into play. Right? Like, you can see the writing come into play, absolutely, because these episodes are where it's the most tested. It has to be entertaining without a challenge. It has to make up something that's not in the formula, right? Like, it has to do non-competition, right, in a way, which is not something that, of course, Jackie Jellyfy is known to do as much. I mean, Teapot, but, they're like non-competition. And now, down on that in a while, right? So it's interesting to see these 2 episodes, how they manage to implement action by kind of separating it. Now, they do it in the same style the past 2 episodes, if you actually pay attention to it. Because, like, Book and Nito are not very connected in this episode. They're very split. Right, like, going into the beginning, we proceed to do the same shenanigan as we did last time. Right, last time, Nito proceeded to go get the grand cake, and fend off Evil Evie, and Book went over to get the votes and stalled off there, right? And then they split. Here's the same thing happens. Nito proceeds to split off and go to Fiery, and Book proceeds to stay here and go and go with Leafy, right? So yet again, our final 2 are very, like, segmented. In both episodes this happened. Maybe I would have enjoyed to see them be a little bit more collected, to be honest, because even though they've teamed up for both the past episodes, I wouldn't mind a bit of a more correct, like a more direct team up here. But oh well, it is what it is. Leafy officially gets added into the no recover list, which features a couple of other people. It features the announcer, Purple Face, Eraser, I think. Do I can't recover Eraser? The barbecue fella from the freaking challenge, and then Lewis. Yes. So those are the people that don't get recovered, and for the people that aren't supposed to come back. I mean, I don't Eraser's here, so I guess not. But you know, other than Eraser, which is for some reason banned, we end up having some other scenes. Where were we? Oh yeah. Then Fiery proceeds to go into the 1v20. Yeah, this happens for a bit. As people progressively die in very, very silly ways, because, of course, I mean, like a random freaking bucket of spikes above there. I mean, I'm sure it's not random. I'm sure it was set up in, like, BFDIA 14, and I forgot about it. Right, but, like, yeah, that's also the setup, of course, for heading toward Yoyoland. Or for the United B. I mean, I know we go to Yoland, then we go back, right, eventually. But look, things are happening. And in the meantime, Book is going to try to figure out how to make Leafy not mad all the time, and brings them to do activities. The problem is, like, every activity is relatively bad for Leafy, right? That's kind of the thing. For Leafy, every activity is not great because it's a reminder, right? Like, we don't like... because somebody betrayed me, I lost a challenge, I'm in here, right? And it turns out that at the end of the day, Leafy holds too much emotional baggage, right? Leafy is nice, quote unquote, but by ignoring everything mean that's ever happened, right? And just kind of trying to segregate to anything that's not mean. And the only thing that, like, she has that doesn't necessarily have a mega negative connotation to it is nowhere. There is nowhere, right? And, like, it's just that ownership of Dream Island, which is, of course, a positive thing to her, but, of course, a negative connotation to everybody else. That's kind of the problem. And Book eventually comes in to, of course, try to convince Leafy, otherwise, by being like, yo, Leafy, this is all weighing you down, you know? Like, this island is weighing you down because you friggin'... You weren't allowed on it, which is kind of goofy, but, like, you're still banished from the world. You're banished from the island, but now you're banished from the world. It's not gotten better, right? And you don't even have the island anyways, right? Like, that's kind of the problem. Like, that's the thing about Dream Island, right? And that's, of course, kind of the thing that's a bit perplexing about the Leafy chase, right? It's like... Leafy bought Dream Island. Leafy owns Dream Island. What? Where is it? Right? Like, that's kind of the question. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the main crux of the Leafy argument that I feel like is missing. Cause, like, there's nothing good that Leafy comes in. The entire reason Leafy owns the island is because she can. Right? That's the entire reason. She can do it. So, she is doing it. She's never been on this island. The island isn't even there. The island's disappeared. Right? So then that's kind of like, okay. Alright. You know? Like, theoretically, if you own the island, you could let everybody on it. Right? But, like, the thing about it is that, because even then, for example, like, there's a lot of agreements. I don't know. There's a lot of agreements that you can potentially do, right? Like, of course, like, if you be like, okay, I own the island, but I'll let everybody on it, right? Or anything. Which is the island just dips away as soon as Leafy buys it, right? And then it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Like, even then, like, if, for example, like, if you return the island to Fiery, does it just, like, spawn back in? Like, what? Like, that's kind of like the relevant thing about Leafy owning the island. Like, what happens in that situation? I don't know. We'll never know. Realistically speaking, we will never know. Which is kind of course, it's a little bit annoying, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But, yeah, Leafy's not willing to return the island because it's hers. And she wants it. So that's a fair, that is a fair enough reason. You steal it. So, of course, that's what makes the reason not fair. But, like, if she didn't, quote unquote, steal it, okay, she tried, she's in the right. So, alright. But yeah, Fiery proceeds to run off, and eventually, after doing a lot of chasing, Nico, by the way, gets chased. Gets freaking, like, turns purple, and then a UFO fucking catches them. Ooh, a purple coin, and then they get taken away. Thing I don't like about that, right? Nico proceeds to get recovered just fine, all right, because by Rocky later. Okay, I don't like that. Because Nico never died. Nico did not die. Nico was just confiscated by alien authorities. There was no death that happened there. You could argue that, he died later, but what do you mean? Do they eat purple coins? Like, is that what they do? Like, is that what the aliens do? Right? Like, what do they do? Like, like, I thought that was going to be a funny guy. But no, they didn't do a funny guy. They died, apparently. Okay, then. Yeah, Bombi proceeds to explode. And, a lot of things are happening. And as we do now, we have the variant on the freaking maze thing where the contestants dodge the knife instead of the knife dodging the contestant. Like, that's really interesting. But Leafy is mad about new friends for some reason. And yet again, there's a lot of chasing. There's a way too much animation showcase, and by way too much, I mean way too little. Do more. Add this to T-Pop. No, there's so much stuff. And things go over the place. They land in the water. Fiery survives. Some people don't. Some people die. They go into sewers. There's a scene that's very, very Carrie. The most Carrie looking scene of all time. End up on Spongy's house because the characters have houses. And we proceed to have Spongy freaking die. Fiery proceeds to die to go in the elevator. No fighting in the elevator. One thing I'm going to point out, this is a Paper Puppets gag. No fighting in the elevator. This is a Paper Puppets gag. They did this, of course, in one of the original Paper Puppets episodes. The one that's like the fucking haunted house, right? Thing with the monsters. I don't remember the names, right? The monsters and everybody went there. They did this elevator gag, but look, it's an alright elevator gag. And they proceed to do that. Book proceeds to try to talk with Leafy as we chatted about it. Evil Leafy apparently becomes stronger when Leafy is even angrier, so that's kind of intriguing. Right, kind of like that strength increase. But Fiery proceeds to get even stronger because Fiery proceeds to snap away the mech suit shenanigans. Now, I'm gonna be honest, Fiery with this mech suit looks unbelievable. It's actually crazy. Like, the animator's show off is at its peak here. The angles that this mech suit Fiery's at, the freaking idle, like the idleness of the way that the bro just wobbles. In this kind of inconsistent way. It's great. I love Fiery. I really like Fiery as a character, by the way. I don't think people like Fiery. I don't think people like Fiery very much. I like Fiery as a character. I think Fiery's quite a good character, to be honest. I enjoy Fiery. They're very, like, non-explanatory to anything. They'll just be like, no, you don't understand the full picture. They'll just, like, do a thing, right? And then not explain it. That I don't think they need to do that, right? Like, and that's kind of a problem. But like if Fiery were to try to give it an accent, it would go way better. But Fiery just doesn't speak. Fiery just does the thing. It's like the main fall of Fiery, but a big fan of Fiery. Fiery was, fun fact, one of my favorite characters back in the originally. And it was the character I wanted to win back when I first watched BFDI. Fun fact, yes, I got the winner I wanted back in BFDI original. Because in BFDI original, I wanted Fiery to win. I remember I was doing I marathon watched it one day when I discovered it, and it was like BFDI 13 or something, and I was like, all right. I'm rooting for Fiery. Fiery's my favorite, and Fiery won. And I'm not gonna lie, that was a big moment. I was a kid, and that was a big moment. That was a big moment for me. The fact that the character I wanted, I was rooting for, won. I was like hype. I was gassed, bro. It was crazy. It was let's go, right? But anyway, side tangent about that. Over, they proceed to find the island and do the other stuff. Leafy proceeds to decide to keep the island because it's there, so fair enough. We have the scene with the freaking with this building machine called Denny. I'm wondering if is this a character, by the way? Is Denny the freaking building machine? Like, is this a character? I don't think it's a character, right? Because like they have a face, but I don't think they're a character, right? Because I'm looking at it, right? Right? I'm investigating. Those eyes, right? That face has a mild blue hue to it. Very mild. It's a little bit of a blue hue, and this blue hue means that it's probably drawn on in the BFDI universe because all the faces are perfectly black, right? So we're gonna go with that. All right. So oh yeah. Then we proceed to do that. There's guys everywhere. There's guys absolutely everywhere. Like I'm not like it's a minefield. Everything is a gag. There are like specific lines that I really enjoy. Specific moments, like so many things. I love the nickname Rockstar for Rocky. By the way, this is a great name. The way they get buckled up. Like, this scene just has so many things. Has my favorite specific shot, but yet again, it's the Fiery hanging off of the freaking thing and then getting, like, the top-down view of it with Nito underneath. That shot looks unbelievable. I don't know who animated that, but that's the best shot of the episode. Yeah, they proceed to get the ultimate punishment. Rocky realizes that they have to go recover everybody. They proceed to do that. We end up having a driving scene. This is an animatic battle. They did do this an animatic battle. All I'm saying... but I mean, that's not really a big deal. The freaking first person POV, like animated did this, but no, whatever. Then Rocky proceeds to learn to write for people with rock brains. Right? Is that the book? For people with rocks for brains. Oh, okay, that's what it's called. Rocky proceeds to read it to learn to write very fast. Mild critique here. A mild critique. Rocky is like not able to write. Like, you don't need to write to recover somebody. You need to input the name, right? Like, writing would be kind of like with a pencil, but like, all right, got it. And then they proceed to recover everybody. Sam Nickel, which proceeds to get the death penalty for one is the dollar death penalty. Shout out to Denny for driving way too fast. They drive so fast. It proceeds to crash into like 4 million things. Evil Leafy drives everybody away, so therefore Nito and Fiery are left alone to fight while Evil Leafy is rising. In the meantime, they're going to a UFO, different UFO than the one that presumably stole Nico earlier. And we end up seeing all of the announcers. The announcers are there under TV announcer, by the way, because there's an announcer fucking speaker boxing as well. And all the speaker boxes are here together watching a BFDIA 25, and I don't know. Personally, I'm not lie. The fact that all of the speaker boxes they are together and they are related, that might be one of my favorite things. I think they showed off before, but like the fact that they're just all there, I don't know, that's so funny, because like historically, announcers kind of like unreceptive to these other speaker boxes, and they're kind of there. I'm wondering, is any of that? Wait, are the BFDI speaker boxes there? Yo, wait. Is that toothpaste speaker box? No, right? Nah, there's no way. Wait, hold on, no. That is toothpaste speaker box, right? It's a regular speaker box, but like, it's blue. Let's go BFDI representation. Let's go. We are so back. Let's go. Oh, let's chat. Yes. W. Didn't notice that. That's gotta be. There's gotta be a toothpaste speaker box in BFDIA. Holy shit. They don't speak, they're just there. Also, by the way, shout out to the freaking circular speaker box. They look just as silly as they look. But yeah, announcer doesn't want to turn around to see the BFDIA finale, so that's how they don't know that BFDIA happened, apparently. They wanted Yellowface to win, but Yellowface did not win. And then, yet again, we end up having some more chats. Fiery ends up talking about it, and as we end up having it, Fiery's reason, apparently, for stealing the island is to keep Leafy alive. To save Leafy. Debatable success on that one. To be honest. Okay. Alright. Okay, here's the thing. I feel like the Fiery idea here is mildly kind of like stalled by the fact that you proceeded to get as far away from Leafy as possible, and it worked for a little bit. But like when you're debating with Nito, right, you've realized that 14 people have just gone off to get Leafy, right? Like there are less people going. Like you're here as a distraction mechanism so that Leafy can leave, but Leafy proceeds to not leave because everything, right? So I don't even know if it's working. I mean, I know that it's like, oh, you can't jump off Denny because like of the crane because like it's too high up. Right, as if, you know, we didn't literally jump off a building like 3 seconds ago. Whatever. Book is apparently a murder guidebook, because that's interesting. How to murder. I don't know. Number 1, crush. Number 2, opening their mouth really wide until their face rips off. And, I don't know. And 3, kill with kindness. So, you know, that's the thing. These are probably things. There are probably things written there. I see the word poop is written there, so that's great. So Book proceeds to go over there and tries to kill and kills Leafy. Now, they proceed to very much. They very tactically do this. Book is kind of smart here. Book kills with aura. All right. Book doesn't actually murder Leafy, right? But they proceed to very narrowly miss on purpose with a note on the back saying, just leave, bro. And Leafy proceeds to maybe take the note that time, right? That time they take the note and they proceed to dip off. But Book successfully does bait everybody there by just kind of walking back with a very, you know, mean look. Very like, I just did a murder. Yeah, right. I'm evil now. Wow. And all of that stuff. In the meantime, Fiery and Nito both fail, and Evil Leafy proceeds to claim the island. As they climb the island, they proceed to try to leave as much as possible. But since they're in the elimination area, they end up, well, first of all, catching Fiery. And second of all, so now they put them in the cage. That, of course, end up in the IDFB setup. And then we end up having to vote reveal. They jump over into the votes after inputting the USB. The floodgates are in there. The fountains are rising. And the idea is the person we're reaching Dream Island. The person with more votes will reach Dream Island and therefore make it. Now, that is cool. That's it. The hype up was real. Bro. I'm not gonna lie. It worked. It worked very well. It worked very, 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 very well. The way that they hyped it up, I'm not gonna lie. Throughout the scene, getting it, and then Needle grabs the island because I think 100k was the threshold, right? Maybe that's why the line was there. But then with a bit more, Book manages to do it, and at that moment they're both good sports about it, right? Like you can kind of tell. that moment. And it's nice to just have kind of some good sports, right? Because like Nito and Book, you see, they compete, but at the end of the day, right, Nito respects a good player and Book respects a good person, right? They respect different things, but they just so happen to be both, right? Nito, yeah, like Nito's both. And Book is also both. You know, like, I mean, the show knows about the narrative that, oh, Book isn't a great challenge player because in terms of individual challenges, Book has struggled, historically speaking, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess, fair. But, and when we end up having the winner of BFDIA after the scene, a bunch of planets proceed to, you know, explode and stuff because, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And after Nito catches it, Book is the winner of BFDIA with 115,914 votes compared to Nito's 105,911, a 10,000 vote gap which on a sample size of 220,000 is a shit ton. Now, well, it's not a shit ton. It's actually very little. Sorry, I said the wrong thing. It's a shit ton of votes, but the gap is actually very little. 10,000 votes. It was very, very close, and you can see from the numbers later that gets displayed from the LOL after yet again eye candy. That Nito was actually leading the initial surge. Then Book took over, then Nito took back over again until eventually Book managed to take it again. So they did have a swap. It was a proper competition, but Book managed to edge it out there, which was really interesting. And I think I agree with how those votes went. I think that makes sense because I do think that BFDI 24 was a bit more Nito than it was Book. I think it was a bit more Nito. Nito is more important to BFDI 24. Even though Book has a lot of run on BFDI 24, getting the votes, getting the thing, like the scene with the viewers and stuff, yes, but Nito has the more aura moment, has the more like fight moments, interacts with more of the characters, right? Like Book is more solitary, Nito interacted with more of the characters, had the epic scene with Evil Leafy, right? And is generally mentioned by the episode as being kind of like the more objectively deserving player because like Book was gonna I think Book was gonna win it by a significantly higher margin until that last episode because that last episode I think really helped push Nito back into the possibility, but yeah, Book was the favorite and Book wins. Good job, Book, for having won. Do I think is a good winner? I always like to say I believe a winner should represent its season, and because it's good, right? I mean, like, it should show off the main stories that happen, and the main thing I think make for a deserving winner, right? Not saying that you don't deserve if you kind of stay out of the main plot or lines, but I think if you represent the season, its vibe, something about it, right, like a main component of it, I think you deserve a win. And Book, I would say, has that. None of the two are the most relevant characters of the show. That's kind of the thing. The most relevant characters in the show are not in this finale, right? The main plot arcs, I don't think belong to those two, even though they both had a lot of pretty relevant plot arcs, right? Like, they both were very relevant characters, in their own ways, but with the overarching other plots that are constantly there, it didn't really have too much impact. Needed a bit more, but Book, does that while also being a greater like season representation. You know, it's a very kind of social season, right? It's a very kind of social season with the team switching and the alliances, right, and stuff. And Book, and like, you know, needing to deal with these controversial figures, right? And Book had that a bit more. And personally, I just enjoy as a character a little bit more. Like, my vote would be Book, because Book is more useful to a narrative than Needle is, in my personal opinion, because it just plays along more. Right, it's more cooperative. I would say more things can happen if you put Book in a situation than you put Needle in a situation, because Book is more open, right, to letting a plot play out. So that's personally I preferred. So I got the winner I wanted, but absolutely good job to Jack and Jellyfy for making it very close, right? Like you're kind of worried about making winners one-sided, right? And it was, of course, one of the things that historically Jack Jellyfish got criticized a lot for. Its latest finale, BFP 30, ignoring the BFDI, which doesn't have a finale in the same style. But the BFP 30 got heavily criticized for making an obvious winner out of it, right? Because BFP 29 proceeded to, SOS, proceeded to have Flower literally save the show by putting the funds in, and at that point Flower was just going to win. There was nothing that you could do, right? Because gelatin was not, Flower was fundamental to an extremely important plot element, while gelatin wasn't, right? And it made for kind of a GG, right? There's not much that you could do there, and that got heavily criticized. And of course, I mean, those last couple of BFP episodes, they're kind of clowned on. Even though I will say I don't know if they're rightly clowned upon. Like that post-play BFP, people don't really like post-play, as you can clearly tell, right? And if you're on fan discourse, people don't like post-play. I feel like the post-play hate is mildly exaggerated, but like the critiques on it are all correct. It doesn't harm the experience that much. Not, I would say, that much, but it does I don't think, it doesn't harm the experience as much as I think as much as people say it does, but I get it. I totally get it, right? Especially because, that post with, it sets up for a really good ending, and it doesn't end properly. But it's averaged a little bit. So this episode really, not this episode in particular, but the episode building up to it absolutely had to kind of write in a close thing, and they succeeded. They succeeded monumentally, right? It's hard to write. Even if it's balanced, people might have some random ass other opinion. But in this case, it's balanced and it was balanced. So it's a big W. I think it's the biggest W that this whole thing has. Right? I think the biggest W that the BFDI finale has is how close the finale is. Because that implies that there was a very good job done in writing. There was a very good job done in writing. There's a very good job done in many categories, right? To allow for this to be as close as it was, right? It required a lot of effort, it required a lot of thinking, and it required a lot of skill and power for that to happen organically, and it did. It happened organically, and that is absolutely it's strong points, and that is one of the biggest W's. I'm gonna say it's one of, if not the biggest W that Jack and Jellyfish has ever taken in the writing of an episode. Absolutely. BFDI 24 W. But yeah, they get the prizes. And then they proceed to let everybody onto Dream Island. They mess around with Dream Island for a little bit, right? The farm chunk thing, because it's not exactly super relevant. I like what Book says, I don't know if you can let you on because you weren't gonna fit. What do you mean you weren't gonna fit? Needles the fitness contestant. But alright, then we proceed to get all of the things that are not relevant in the future that would be proceed to get explained here, right? Like these last batch of minutes, these last 5 minutes are entirely just IDFB setup, right? Because okay, we need all of these things that we put in to not be relevant, right? So the memories, the mech suit, the drill, many of these details, they lose relevance in BFB and stuff. So for that means that we just need to get rid of it, right? And of course the Dream Island itself that doesn't show up. So they proceed to do that by getting it into the bag of memories and then hidden away by the Free Smart. By the Free Smart security protocol. So yeah, we don't get to see those again. That's the explanation. Then we set up IDFB by proceeding to get Fiery on there. Fiery proceeds to not know about Leafy for, I guess, an unknown amount of time. Yellow Wall doesn't get freed because they're too distracted. So that's how IDFB happens. Fiery gets placed very high up because of course, they're afraid of heights, and that's how they're in the cage, starting IDFB1. They proceed to start the filming of IDFB1 before, as they're about to do that, Nito apparently has some secrets. The secret is the hiding of the memories itself, and as they're doing that. We end up having the finale of BFDIA. The final, the credits. The credits here, the BFDIA 25. People are starting to make food behind me. My here pots and pans, which is pretty swag. But as we are doing that, we of course see all the people that work on the episode and all of the final chit chatter. So, as we close off the episode, what did we think of the BFDIA finale? I think the BFDIA finale is very good. I think it's absolutely very good. It does the main thing that a finale needs to do, feel special. It manages to write in a long episode. I think one or two people will probably complain that, it's too long, it should have been shorter, or whatever, right? Because I think there's some people that are tired of long episodes, but like, nah, whatever, it's a finale, let it do what it wants. And like, it does all these things. It feels special, it feels cool. The animators get to absolutely show off. The writing successfully sets it up. It thinks about a lot of details. Probably not every detail. I mean, there's probably things that I'm forgetting. Like the BFDI analyst will look at it and be like, well, they forgot to set up the potato that appears in the idea B, right? And whatever. And yeah, I'm sure they do that. I'm sure they forgot something. They always forget something. To be honest, they always forget something, even in T-Ball. But It's a great finale. It's absolutely a great finale. I personally don't think you can do this finale much better. Right? If you think you can do the finale much better, if you're a finale hater, let me know. But I absolutely think that it is peak media. Absolutely, because it does everything so well. It does everything so well. The writing is solid. It claims that BFDIA 24. Slam dunk and nails on it. Animation show off is great. Audio all very good, all very super expressive characters as usual. So all very solid. Writing's there. It's fun, right? It doesn't change the vibe of BFDIA too much, right? It's high stakes story while at the same time being fun and not overly serious. Like it's all solid, and it sets up a possible idea B. In terms of idea B, I mean, like, idea B could happen. To be honest, it's one of the things where it's like, I personally, there's fucking people talking in the back, but yeah, idea B is one of those things where I personally don't want idea B to actually happen right now. I think that I'm one of those idea B has a shit ton of potential believers, right? Because the concept of a Jack Jellyfin non-competition season, I mean, we've seen how these episodes are, can be very, very good, but don't do idea B now. Don't do it now. It's too soon. We need BFDIA to kind of leave. We need tour to happen. I would say, personally, if idea B, in my opinion, should not happen in 2026. That's my opinion. If idea B is going to happen, it's going to continue, I think it should be after. It should be 2027, right? Maybe like the January 1st, the anniversary, right? Then we can have an idea B2, and then we can kind of do some thingies from there. Or even longer, right? Or like, get it. We need some time for this vibe to feel special again, because IDB return should feel special, and if it happens right now, I don't think it will. Right, pause and pass. And as we do that, that's kind of what I think. Idea B should be IMO 2027 thing. This is a different recording because there were too many pots and pans. Okay, the pots and panning were panning and potting all over the place, and it wasn't good. But yeah, like I think that 2027 makes sense. Let them do the tour, let them chill out, right? Let them kind of do their thing, and that way IDB will feel a little bit special when it drops by, and it also allows a bit of a refresh of the mind, because we're so like in the loop, right? We're so like in the BFDA loop right now that I think for IDB to be able to grow off of it, right? It needs to get time away from it. So that's kind of what I think. Don't do this for a while. Don't do idea B for a while. It'll be unfortunate because of course they'll have less content. But they'll be busy with the tour. The teapot should at least take note. Like only ever think about doing other season shenanigans like idea B or something else after we've done the defeat 1 challenge in full. I'm not sure how that's gonna happen. To be honest, I don't remember. I swear they said something about it being on the tour. I have like a memory, I have like a memory, But either way, I don't currently remember it. But like, despite the fact that they're doing that. That's just kind of what I think. And overall, that's it. That's BFDIA. Should I do I guess, a general season opinion? While we're at it, BFDIA ends up being a very good season. I would say it is fun at its lowest point, and it is fun and stunning at its highest point. It never really forgot, right? It never really forgot. It ended up being pretty good. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I will say, like, that kind of, like, post the return of BFDIA, but a bit before it kind of like locked in, I would say isn't like the greatest section of all time, to be honest. Like, it's kind of like, it kind of struggles a little bit in certain aspects. Some episodes not written the best, some episodes, the length kind of varying, the importance of an episode kind of also varying as they're trying to figure out like kind of what works, what doesn't, and kind of settling into this vibe. But despite that, they managed to get the BFDIA return episodes also have a lot of iconic moments, even if, you know, like they were rough edges, but there were gold nuggets inside, right? So rough edges, golden nuggets, and then we eventually trimmed out the rough edges, and then it's ended up being a very smooth thing. So BFDIA is very enjoyable, and I would recommend watching BFDIA to anybody. I absolutely think. If you have a shit ton of time, I would absolutely recommend watching BFDIA to anybody, even if they're out of the indie animation. Just know, right? Because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, these shows are for babies and stuff. And it's like, okay, cool, alright, got you, but have you watched it, you know? As I am, you know, all these haters, they didn't even watch it. They say it's bad. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. If you want to hate on BFDIA, you gotta be BFDI. You gotta watch BFDI, you know? Only a true watcher can be a hater, alright? And even then, you might be hating on it wrong. Take Teapot. But, either way, yeah, alright. I think that's enough for my BFDIA chat. We did what I said. It's the first catch-up segment for anything I've recorded in quite a bit, so hopefully we don't mind. I'm rusty, alright? I just gotta dust it off, go you know, but yeah, alright, that's cool. On to whatever next section this video contains, because I'm gonna kind of, I'm gonna sort out something, I don't know. But yeah, GG on BFDIA, good stuff. We had our chat, we did our talk, and now we can move on to other talks, which we are overdue on talking. Alright, back to the present. As you can hear by the cars, we are going over to OITO, or Out in the Open, because OITO 3A was actually I think the first episode I was supposed to watch it in the next video, right, in the episode before hiatus, and I do want to watch. It's a big show, it's a big episode, so absolutely I'm going to do that. Now, yeah, that's the only episode from the Pikpilled that we're gonna need to watch. I'll try to reiterate this. Bike, can you stop? But either way, look, there's gonna be a lot of me complaining about traffic because this freaking crowded ass road. But either way, what happened in the last episode of Out in the Open, this is always going to be difficult to remember nowadays, especially the characters. I'm going to be really sorry because I'm going to butcher like half of these. But either way, pretty sure in the last challenge, we had to fix up TV after the host, I don't know, breathed in the wrong direction. We ended up discovering the recovery is mildly difficult in OITO because there's a shared recovery center across the community, which means that it's not that easy to just recover some people. And then afterwards, we ended up having some important moments, including the command block getting taken by an evil poker chip fella. So let's so we gotta make be very wary of that. After a big battle in the underground, however, eventually TV gets fixed by the sleepy character, and then Microwave ends up getting eliminated and proceeds to explode. OITO 3A is entitled. Wait, what is it entitled? It's entitled Lights, Cameras, Fades. Go! Alright, that is Out in the Open 3A, and that is an interesting little episode. Now, first of all, you're gonna need to bear with me for a little bit. This is the first catch-up segment I record in like a month and a half or something. So, you're gonna need to give me a minute. I might be a little rusty at this, but anyway, we do have ourselves, I would say, a pretty solid episode. I kind of enjoy it because it does correctly, I would say, sort of remind of the situation, right? In a way, one of the things which I've noticed happens with a lot of the kind of longer running shows, which I'm, continually covering, that have long gaps between episodes, is I am kind of directly a test. Right, I'm kind of directly a test. Does the episode do enough to remind me what happened, of what the situation is? And in this case, it does, because especially at the start, it starts directly here with Poker Chip, who also seems to be aligned with his iPad fella, who seems to be doing something like that. Who gets turned on and everything, and later turns out to be relatively relevant. Ends up going out to the computer, presumably utilizing the I think the command block piece, right, that they got from the area, and with it they're able to utilize this computer, and they end up taking walkie-talkie. It seems like they have a recovery file, because remember, it makes sense, right? If the recovery machine, there's just one. There's only one recovery machine in town, which means that, and it seems to have like a file, a database log of everybody, right? So somebody will be disappear forever if they're unable to be recovered, and if they're unable to be recovered, that means that somebody has deleted them from the file, right? So it seems as if we're interested in deleting the host here, walkie-talkie, from the show file, because if you remember from the beginning, there's the whole thing with walkie-talkie with that every previous host of Out in the Open of the game show has gone missing. Right, which means that that's kind of what's happening. 3 results of criminal record, which is interesting. Apparently, New York, and there we go. So I don't think we go through with it though. We don't quite delete walkie-talkie yet though. We seem to be still stalking it out. Maybe wanting some of the contestants in specific, because we end up eventually, of course, dealing with Artificial Planet later on in the episode. But you can already see some potential theories, right? And you kind of see what the bad guys are. Now, Out in the Open is in definitely an interesting situation, because it's a show with an interesting blend of vibes, right? Because you can tell that it's main appeal, the main focal point of its writing, it's supposed to be gags, right? It's supposed to be a funny show. At the crux of it, it's supposed to be a show that's very meta humor, right? It's very meta humor at its core. It's reference humor. It has an entire character that's reference humor. The other characters are also extreme reference humor, and even if it's not reference humor, it'll slide one in, right? So it's very meta humor and satirical in a way, and that makes it very silly, right? That makes it a very unserious show, but at the same time, it's putting itself in a realistic environment. That's kind of the thing that it does differently than the average show. Because what's going on here is that you end up having, this kind of show that plays along with reference humor and meta humor. However, it's placing it in a relatively in-world scenario, because a lot of the time the shows that do meta humor place itself in a meta location, right, in a location that doesn't really give off society. But these objects are definitively in a society, despite the factoid that meta humor exists, right? Which kind of gives it that interesting blend that I'm not exactly seeing another show do properly. Which is the part of OITO that I find rather interesting, especially as there's this lurking sense of deeper storyline, right? There's this lurking sense of, okay, the bad guys are coming, right? The bad guys are about to do a thing, right? And we'll need to see. There's not enough information around yet to really be able to see. Of course, they end up taking in Artificial Planet later on in the episode. Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to it, because first of all, we start off here with Smoothies in the evil variant, right? Because they ended up getting blended in with the doll water. Ice Pack, however, randomly decides to sing because I don't know. I guess if you say store, you randomly burst out into song. I gotta see. How does this song go? Hold on. You've been sitting out here ever since we got back from the store. Open the OITO door and I walk on the OITO floor. I don't care if I bore like Sunday snores, but I get burned because I know I got no OITO pour. Yo. But yeah, no, there's no big song in that. There's only a mild song in that. Oh yeah, Smoothie is officially mad because I guess that's what happens when you have dog water on you. That makes sense. And they end up officially pretty much bullying a couple of people until some fellas on the other team end up sliding over to have a chat. And then Skateboard ends up having the idea, yo, what if everybody was an OITO baby? Because object shows are for babies, right? And they're in an object show, so everybody's a baby, so they're all OITO babies, right? So then we're having the idea that they are gonna take everybody into an OITO baby, and they start off by fetching Ice Pack and just yeeting them away, just rolling mega fast. And as they roll mega fast into their tent, it doesn't get realized. But Smoothie yet again proceeds to get cooked by Walkie Talkie, because Walkie Talkie ends up being like, yes, hello, nope, you can't go into the other tent, unfortunately, and everybody in the other tent's from the other team. So basically, if you can go there very sneaky, you can do it, but otherwise, then no. So that's kind of a little bit unfortunate. But anyway, Girls' Day, I guess, new team name. And we end up having the challenge. So the challenge for the episode ends up being apparently a movie. Not necessarily a movie night. Wait, is it a movie night? How do you even describe this challenge? It's a movie night, but we make the movie. It's a movie challenge, okay? It's a film festival, all right? I think OITO 3B. Is OITO 3B set to be at a film festival? Or was this set to be at a film festival? No, because I think something... I think one of the film festivals, right? I think, because I'm sorry, I don't remember. This episode is like a month old. So, I mean, I wonder if 3A or 3B are supposed to be at a film festival. No, because, I mean, if 3B is supposed to be at a film festival, why would you do the split? Right? Because then, there's a whole talk about whether A and B splits are warranted for anything. My personal opinion is that you probably shouldn't make A and B splits because it makes episodes less satisfying. At least in this case, though, there is a good amount of relevant content, right, that you can at least theorize about utilizing 3A. But I would still just wait it out, right? I would wait it out if possible. I think the A's and B's hurt the majority of shows, but they end up making the shorts, everybody's there, and either way, we end up starting it off. Twinkle ends up flying over to the BFB world, because obviously fans says the Twinkle of Contagion, and remember, that makes Gelatin laugh. The sun is a triangle, which I didn't know. The sun is a pyramid, to be specific, which is cool. I like the consistency to the detail of keeping that there. I wonder if that's a relevant detail. I wonder if that's actually something that we gotta take a look at, because I feel like it's been very consistent, right? It's a gigantic pyramid with a face. Also, by the way, hold on a minute, that moon definitely has a moon of its own, 100%. There's a blob there. Okay, that's interesting. Moon has a moon. All right, I'm keeping an eye out. And it ends up flying over space to the BFB universe, which is kind of fun, to the BFB planet. So they're theoretically, according to OITO, set in the same universe, so that's kind of interesting. But anyway, they proceed to go over to do things. We end up having the command block, who ends up they're having a backstory about how their father, who... Look, I'm going to be 100% honest, I don't know what that is. It's like a magic wand. I think apparently it's from Homestuck, according to the comment section, but I don't actually know. I have no knowledge of Homestuck, so I can't tell you. But then going over, OSC fan, of course, wants to make an object show, because making an object show is one of the top ideas. In terms of how good it is as a challenge, I mean, it's a fine challenge, to be honest. It's a challenge that you think is more generic than it is. There aren't actually that many film-making challenges, even though it's a pretty good idea. Realistically, probably because it's kind of difficult to sort out the making part of the challenge, right? Because it's cool because you get to see finished product, but the actual making part of it, I feel like it's a thing that might not be as it's harder to write, so that's why I think a lot of people don't really tend to do it. So that is, I think, what's going on. I realized I'm talking way too slow. We end up having, the fake object show where we have a Dibs fan and we have AB fan, which is just, that's great stuff. I like how they have, the, like, memorabilia from each. Like, they have a animatic balloon and we have, like, the, what the hell is that guy called? The guy that everybody fawns over in Dibs. It's been a while, right? And the battle is kind of funny. But either way, some of the fellas are making a movie. They're just walking around, and while they're walking around, we're not having the big thing that happens. This is the main thing that happens, okay? So first of all, the CCTV fella that's just always sleepy ends up apparently receiving a signal. Okay, which is kind of interesting. And as they receive the signal, it seems to draw by from a nearby street because Artificial Planet ends up walking over, and they proceed to get snatched up by iPod, who ends up throwing an FLA at them, and therefore they enter the FLA. So therefore, Artificial Planet gets swapped, and they finish 16th. Whatever that means. They finished 16th at a very Teapot 19 core piece of text proceeds to appear. That just happened. That definitely did just happen. I'm not exactly sure if that means that Artificial Planet's been eliminated. I mean, it presumably would, right? Because this isn't the type of challenge where, like, you can't finish 16th in this challenge. Because every challenge has been team-based. So presumably the characters have been eliminated. Maybe it's like kind of the thing, like, oh, if you leave showgrounds, you can't come back. So that's kind of interesting. Artificial Planet is one of those characters that's very useful, right? It's apparent, like, even though it's... Look, I'm kind of used to these characters being bullshit, right? Being like, I have a greater understanding. And then it's like, it doesn't even matter. But like, maybe you do actually have a deeper understanding of the world. And then the fucking evil villain people need you for information or whatever. So it's like, sure, alright, we'll go with that. But, that'll be interesting to see. Anyway, then a paperclip gets upset, and then we end up finding out that Ice Pack is actually a film student. So they are making some films alongside the Coconut, and they will make a couple of shots and stuff after skateboarding and things. But right as they're about to go over, the challenge proceeds to finish. 3A is over, and that is OITO 3A. What do I think of OITO 3A? Pretty good. I would say, I mean, like, as far as A episodes go, it's nice, right? It's a good one. It gives us a fair amount of substance, right? It's supposed to give us, something, like, because, if you're doing the A and B split is dangerous because you're very, usually, like, the meat and potatoes are either in the A part or they're in the, no, sorry. The meat and potatoes are usually in the B part, or they're in the A part to set up the B part, right? So then if you just chop it in the middle, it's kind of like the same thing as if you just pause an episode halfway through. Like it's not going to feel substantial, right? Even if it is, because you haven't gotten everything. So that's kind of the situation. By the way, I would just like to point out. So remember how I said smoothie all this time? I got mixed up. It's the Hello Kitty. Look, they're very similar sounding. You see what I mean? I'm sorry. So every time I said smoothie, imagine Hello Kitty cup, okay? And then smoothie's the other one. All right. Look, they're very okay. Look, they're not similar, but they're not similar names, but they're similar characteristics. Okay. So we'll go with that. But anyway, well, yeah, overall, I would say that it's relatively solid. I would still, yet again, probably not do the A and B split, but if you gotta do it for whatever reason, I think it's pretty solid. So, yeah, the substance in there is there. What are the evil people doing? What's some theorizing? Do I have any theory? I don't know. I mean, they've been doing this for a while. We know that, right? We know that. They've been doing this for a while. They've been erasing hosts on the record for a while now because they keep disappearing. For some reason, it doesn't see. I don't think they have a knowledge of at least we don't have a knowledge of a contestant going missing, right? Which is interesting because, of course, if a contestant is going missing, like, there's no reports of that ever happening. So a contestant going missing is different in this case because, well, of course, we took out Artificial Planet, which means that a contestant in the show has directly gone missing, right? So there's something to play along here with there. I'm not 100% sure what, but maybe that'll receive a report, right? Like, yeah, like, where would I bring it? I would probably like try to. I think I would probably start to serious it a little bit more, because for as much as the kind of meta humor is fun, right? You can only do so much. There's only so much meta to humor, right? until you get too niche. So you kind of, so I think you got to stray away from it quicker rather than later. Not necessarily change its whole vibe, but kind of like stop it being the focal point, right? And start having a little bit of a plot. So I'll probably start plotting it out a little bit earlier, right? Like, kind of have, for example, some additional reporting. So, for example, imagine, I don't know, next episode, artificial planet goes missing, right? And then there's, I don't know, interviewers there, right? And being like, what's going on? Contestant goes missing on OITO. Host remains quiet, right? So then you start getting pressured, and as you start getting pressured, maybe you start getting more self-conscious, and you start getting more self-conscious, maybe you start getting more careful, maybe you start inspecting the area, and as you inspect the area, maybe you catch a glimpse of the bad guys, right? And then maybe there's a little bit of communication, right? It's kind of like, because like the thing I'm worried about the story right now is that there's no conflict right now, because the one side is blissfully unaware, right? So I think what we got to do is we got to make walkie-talkie aware of what's going on, right? Aware that something's going on behind the scene. Like we saw in episode 1 or 2, whatever, that walkie-talkie is aware, of course, that the host historically go missing, but they're not aware that that process currently happening to her, right? So we gotta see. We gotta see. That's what I would personally do. I would probably start in the next few episodes. If Artificial Planet is gone for good, right? Gotta be like, where's Artificial Planet? Get some questioning in, and then have walkie-talkie start to investigate a little bit more and maybe find out what's going on. That's what I would do. But we're gonna need to see. That's OITO 3. Let's go over to the next thing. Yet again, sorry about all the bikes and stuff outside. It's Europe weather, Europe heat wave. Okay, I cannot survive without the door open. All right, next thing. Next up, we are going to go over to the Winter VR channel, because there's been quite a lot of new episodes of Hallo-Trinkets. Yes, Hallo-Trinkets, which I covered originally like 6 months ago, has come back with a vengeance. It's had 4 very quick back-to-back episodes, and I want to watch it. So, we will see what is going on. As a reminder for what happened last time, the eliminated contestant ended up being the freaking, like, what the hell is it called? The yarn ball ended up getting eliminated, and as we do that, we have the challenge being to get a flower. The moon fella ends up getting a flower by just picking it off the ground, despite some different ideas. And then that means a memory locket, Go Snakes in a Can, and Whispering Flower, despite not being in the show, is up for elimination. So that's interesting. I guess we'll find out what is going to happen with that, because it's very tempting to vote for the character who's not in the show to see what happens. Episode 4 is entitled Fight If You Know What's Right. Go. Alright, that is episode 4 of Hallo-Trinkets, the hit series that doesn't know how many L's are in its own name. We are here with the elimination, where Whispering Flower is just a contestant now, and nobody minds. So fair enough. I guess the rapport here is pretty high here with the other trinkets. That way, the contestants are getting eliminated is Ghost Snakes in a Can with 61 votes. That is a lot of votes, by the way. Which, fair. I mean, I guess they would have had some time to accumulate, but I don't know how many views the other episode had. That's kind of that's a lot of votes, but we'll see. They proceed to be very bewildered here, and we do have a couple of shots in this episode that are kind of different. As you can see, it's not only JPEG, right? Like, we do sometimes take the an asset variant of the character itself, and we see it here for Ghost in a Can, where we have this shot of them looking surprised at the camera, and it's an asset, and it's pretty alright. The custom drawn asset variant of it, I think it's pretty alright. It's pretty competitive, but it kind of it's not used a lot, presumably because, of course, we need to draw angles of it, and we end up just kind of just not doing that. So that's fair. It's also suffering a little bit from a pacing mishap. Like, okay, I get it. You're pretty flabbergasted that you got eliminated, right? You are shook, okay? But that scene does last 20 seconds. 20 seconds is a while to just look at one flabbergasted face. Like, it's quite a bit. It's because it does like two run-throughs. It does like two run-throughs of the loop. And it's like a lot. So I'd maybe work on it, because even like a scene later, even the scene later with the soul sword looking equally as distraught, because of course the ghost snakes in a can, I think, is a sister, right? Because of the because of like the category of item that it is, all right? Ends up like it also ends up lasting quite a bit. So yeah, they're not down to do the challenge. They're not in the mood to do the challenge. And they proceed to dip off, right? And Tape decides to use this as an opportunity to do a challenge. And Tape's like, I'm failing as a host. And then they proceed to make the challenge last one stand, murder everybody. Okay, Tape, all right, relax. What are we doing? Tape, you gotta take a chill pill. But apparently it's because, if Soul Sword was so angry, they will, like, want to take their anger out on people, and that seems like an idea. Moonpack Heirloom proceeds to go after Whispering Flower, who's extremely defenseless, but yeah, Memory Locket doesn't want to fight, and then Soul Sword ends up knowing, and finding out that the Moonpack ended up successfully murdering Whispering Flower, and they proceed to eventually beat them up by I don't even know what they're doing. They like they throw them, they grab them, and they do like a throw-in, and they presumably die. But yeah, eventually Memory Locket goes like, "Hey, can I win, please? I didn't win the other time." And the Soul Sword goes like, "Yeah, sure, I can. That's fair." And there we go. That is it. Memory Locket wins, and the other three are up for elimination. The Snakes in the Can elimination, I think, was pretty fair. I mean, it's been a bit, of course, since I watched this. I'm not necessarily commenting on it too much, but I don't even think Ghost Snakes in the Can showed up in episode 3. So I think, yeah, it makes very much so sense. So who's gonna get eliminated? It's gonna be Soul Sword. It's gonna be Moonpack Heirloom. Look, all right. Look, the spelling is not in the top things of this show, and then there's also the Whispering Flower. So I don't know, the Whispering Flower has kind of just been, they've not done anything, like they've just kind of been there. They've been carried around by Soul Sword for the last challenge, and then in this challenge they're also there, right? So I'm not necessarily sure if that is the thing. I am still going to be 100% honest when I say that this voting system is extremely confusing. Because tapes are good. You want tapes. Why is getting the most of them getting you eliminated? Right? The tape, you want tape in the game. Why is getting tape here bad? I got confused again reading the elimination, because you got 14 tapes. It's like, that's not a lot, right? That's not a lot of votes. So you might not. So you're gonna get eliminated. But it's like, no, you don't. Because it's a vote to eliminate, but it's a vote to eliminate, but by giving out an item which is good. So by getting the most of the good thing, you get eliminated. You see what I mean? It's so weird. It's very confusing. It is very confusing. But whatever. Alright then, there's more episodes to go. I'm predicting Whispering Flower, but let's see. Episode 5 is entitled, now that's an Ichor leak. Released 3 weeks ago. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 5 of Hallo-Trinkets. That's had a revelation. It actually turns out that we use community posts to do the voting. So that's why we had a lot of it. That was a bit confused. It's like, hold on, these episodes don't have that many views. How are there that many votes? Because it's like 140 or whatever this episode. No, it turns out that we're voting from the community post, which is interesting. We have seen that done before. However, in this case, I mean, again, there's more votes than there are views. So that means that the amount that we're actually voting based on the performance is not gonna be that high, right? So we're gonna be a little bit limited. Now, I'm gonna take this episode to kind of discuss a little bit of the more technical factors, all right? Because I have to say it at some point, right? Now I got pointed out during during the hiatus that Winter saw the episode. It's part of the reason, of course, why I'm covering them in the first batch, right? Because I got made a video on asking like why the animation was sluggish and stuff, and it turns out that the animation was sluggish because we were more so because we weren't exporting the video. We were doing a screen recording of the animation software, and we were dragging the timeline. Which makes the fluid animation not be fluid because it's getting dragged along by finger, which is directly non-fluid, right? So that's interesting, for sure. Is that was that a good system? I don't know. Again, I still think that the fluid animation is worth the Flipper logo, because the fluid logo is not that annoying. Like, the Flipper Club logo is not that annoying. The only reason you would hide the because here's the thing, the only reason you would hide the Flipper Club logo is to either A, look professional, and B, you don't want to look like you're using Flipper Club. However, we're just directly saying that we use Flipper Club. And I mean, like, we know this isn't professional. We're using freaking PNGs from the game, right? Like, I think we get it, which is why I still think that is totally acceptable. Or you can, pirate Flip Club. But either way, when having the elimination area after the eliminated contestant being Whispering Flower, and the rejoin proceeds to happen right as the final three is nearly about to get over. The rejoiners end up leaving the faraway lands of Void. We end up having ghost snakes in a can because they're the best. Bonito and Thread wants to come back because they were the first out, and they had an unfair lose. And then Whispering Flower is all down. They're a mistake, don't belong, don't let me come back, which is interesting. In terms, I mean, it's one of the first time we've seen Whispering Flower talk. I mean, like, it's kind of hard to judge it. I'm usually thinking a first out, first in system, right? So you would think that Bonito and that would come back, but there's kind of a thing going on, right? That they're a bit ego, right? Everybody hates me core, and Whispering Flower is also everybody hates me core. So Ghost Snakes in a Can is the only one that's kind of normal. So we're gonna need to probably go with that. I gotta say Ghost Snakes in a Can comes back, but we'll need to see. In terms of other details, if there's any other little details that I guess I'll point out, is that the text boxes are also kind of not very pro. The text is, I don't know how to say it, it's very randomly spaced. Right, it's very random. Like, you can look at it, like, there's very, very randomly spaced. Sometimes a word will be on top of another word. The size will be random. It'll be over. Sometimes the text box will be chopped off a little bit. Right, like, it's not super consistent. I feel like maybe that could be some work, right? Try to make the text box a little bit more consistent. Also, the classic thing, putting great text on a great background, not the best idea. Sometimes it does end up making it a little bit hard to read. But either way, that's kind of the main technical aspect that I would like to say. Sometimes the text gets squished and everything, and I don't know, it's a little awkward. Anyways, we end up having the challenge, which is there's a Ichor leak because we opened up the evil basement that's all Ichor. And the challenge at the end of the needing to fill up 3 canisters. So as you end up filling up some canisters, which again should be easy. There's a gigantic pool in the ground, right? But Soulsor wants to do it. Moonpack Heirloom is like, no, you don't. Proceeds to dip with it. Who even knows? But then they end up dipping off with the Heirloom. And then, for some reason, of course, what is the best course of action? When Moonpack Heirloom steals your thing, you obviously should go murder Memory Locket. What the hell? That don't have nothing to do with anything. No, I get it. No, I don't get it. Just because Memory Locket is being neutral and it's holding on to the thing, it's like, what's the point of that? What is the point of that? And also, by the way, what is the point of that anyway? That's the worst strategy I've ever seen. Like, by the time that you would go over and get rid of Soul Sword's canister, memory lock it would theoretically just have filled up their canister. But somehow they didn't. And then they proceed to get fucking murdered and snap their body in half. Which, Jesus Christ. But yeah, Soul Sword Soul Sword has lost my respect, you know. I thought Soul Sword was going after the evil Moonpack heirloom, but now they're just, you know, they were cool with memory lock it the other day, and now they're not cool anymore. You have lost my respect. You are banned. You are gone. You are leaving. You are leaving. No more. You cannot. Soul Sword, you have lost my respect, and it's time to go. Anyways, it's also time for the next episode. Episode 6 of Hallo-Trinkets is entitled Memory Lock Down. Here we go. It's episode 6 of the Hallo-Trinkets, and the memory locket is not feeling so good because they apparently got sick. Okay, their eyes are turning red, not like the movie, because they drowned and they tried to breathe, so they must have breathed the Ichor, and now they're evil. You see, good. Okay, here's the deal. I get how that makes sense in theory, but the problem that I am experiencing is that you died. This is a different you. You're a different body. You know, you got ripped in half and drowned. You died. This is a different body of you, which means that there's no way that you inhaled Ichor. You know, that was the other body. The other body will have Ichor on it. I mean, you have Ichor on you permanently because of how the memory lock it is. But if we ignore that, like, if we ignore just the detail of the asset, is that something's off. That's a little bit suspicious. But yeah, they get sick and they proceed to lash out after they get eliminated. Yes, because they actually get eliminated. Before they get eliminated, we end up having, sorry for the cars, we end up having the contestant the contestant rejoins. B goes thanks in the can, indeed. That makes sense. Logical option. But yeah, the eliminated contestant being memory lock. Soul Sword ends up surviving, and I'm like, God damn you voters who don't watch the show. How dare you make this crucial mistake? I mean, come on. I get Soul Sword is probably good in the Dandy's world, but like, this guy is such a loser. Even in this episode, right? It's because memory lock it proceeds to, you know, the Ichor, the high cortisol or whatever, they proceed to get evil, and apparently when they get evil, they spawn in a gigantic horse. I don't know what that is. I don't know. They spawn in a gigantic mega platform that they proceed to stand in, and they also become mega powerful. They glitch out tape, but beyond doing that, they also proceed to murder everybody. But like, the Soul Sword is such a loser. You have to be like, oh, I got this, Ghost Snakes, and I can't. Yo, my sister, stay close to me. And then they proceed to do nothing. They just stare at the evil being and freaking let them grab you. Don't even flinch. What the hell you doing? Do something. Come on. Do some protection. But then they proceed to try to have a fight, and even then they don't actually do any fighting. Like, have you noticed? They don't actually do any of that. They just proceed to be like, I must stop this. And no, they don't even do anything. They see Soul Sword. They proceed to stand there, being very distraught. Be like, oh no, I am getting attacked. I must now stay still. And then Moonpack Heirloom for some reason tries to protect them, but either way, it's a lost cause. By the way, it's everybody just fails remarkably. So everybody dies, which means that memory locker ends up getting to rejoin because I mean, I guess after you unleash your Ichor evil horse, you end up not having that in your system anymore. Now you're good. So beyond that, you you end up rejoining alongside everybody else who's up for elimination. Big fan of memory locking, getting to see the voting screen. The voting screen ends up changing a little bit as we end up noticing, some of the problems, right? Like we end up having the clarification that giving taste is a vote to eliminate. Doesn't make any sense, but we'll go with it. We end up telling to not get taste in the comments. It only has to be in the community tab, which again, not information that we ever knew. Yeah, the taste ended 6 days, not 7 for some reason. But yeah, overall, that is that is the episode. It's a pretty fun episode. I mean, I like the there's a degree of writing consistency. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of what I like about it. I feel like a character like Memory Lock has been pretty consistent. A character like Soul Sword has been pretty consistent. A character like Moonpack is very consistent. I didn't put it on in the last episode, but I really liked the gag in the last episode where Moonpack Heirloom said it was Memory Locky, because that's a callback. Right, there's a callback, because Moonpack Heirloom also says it wasn't me, right? So they're very deflective, right? And that's just a character trait. Like, that's a consistent character trait that we have. And it's nice to have some characters with a proper, more direct, like a character trait. It's not that easy to write, right? Like, there's a degree of writing knowledge that you gotta have, right? So I'm gonna absolutely say, like, character like Moonpack Heirloom has some nice character trait. Soul Sword has some character traits as well. The press bunch also has that character trait going on, right? It's all that stuff's ongoing, which is pretty nice, and I do gotta commend it for it. I at least like that, the character writing is at least, got a consistency in the basis of personality. I can tell that the character is this character, which I enjoy. Anyways, it is now time for the latest episode of Hallo-Trinkets, indeed released 6 days ago. It is entitled Can't Be Bothered. Bye! Episode 7 of Hallo-Trinkets is here, and it's a big one. It's a big one in the Hallo-Trinkets timeline, because we have ourselves a big new development, which is assets for 1 and V8 for 2. So that is interesting. Let's start off here with the asset. So apparently every character has received an asset except for Ghost Snakes in a Can. Ghost Snakes in a Can does not get asset privileges. Why? I have no idea. I mean, I know that they explain it, right? Being like, oh, your asset is complicated, and I would get that, but you already made an asset for Ghost Snakes in a Can, right? Like, that shocked expression thing from a couple episodes ago that I was talking about, that even shows up in this episode for a little bit. That's an asset. That's what that is. Is it not? Like, edit it. I don't know. Is that not an asset? Okay. I mean, all right then. Sure. Why not? But either way, everybody gets an asset. In terms of the assets themselves, they look very nice. They're quite stylized. Moonpack Heirloom is absolutely number one. You can really see kind of the everything working in on it. The Soul Sword doesn't, I guess, change too much, and the Memory Lock, I guess, suffers a bit the most because it's the most complex one to start, right? Also, it kind of complicates the matters a little bit. But the Moonpack Heirloom, as you can see, with like giving a cleaner design, the freshen up is very nice. So overall it's pretty solid. And then tape themselves is also I would say a pretty nice redesign. Because yeah, I do gotta admit, the gigantic outline on tape and the mild diagonality of it was a little weird. So it's pretty good. The eliminated contestant with 85 votes ends up being Soul Sword. Finally, it wasn't even close. 85 to 8, deserved. I hope we write it in the comments being like, eliminate Soul Sword immediately. Yeah, Soul Sword is gone. In terms of voice acting, which of course ends up happening, we do have a variety of different voice actors. They all do a pretty alright job. However, of course, voice acting means new problems, and new problems is the audio mixing. It's not great. It's not great, to be honest. I mean, the audio... okay, here's the deal. The audio aspect is... I pretty much never mentioned it because it's not that relevant, right, to a show that doesn't have voice acting, but it suddenly becomes extremely relevant to a show with voice acting. That's the main thing. That's kind of the situation, right? Because it's like, if it's a show that just has like a looping set of 3 tracks, but you can just kind of fade it into the background as you're reading, that's fine, right? But as soon as there's voices, the fact that it's always the same 3 songs every episode, right? And that like the song is louder than the voices means that you pay attention to it more. So I'd probably, well, first of all, thing number 1 is makes it a little bit better. I always like to say vocal should be significantly louder than the music. I think it's just better because like it's more useful to listen to the dialogue than to backing track, right? So I would absolutely say to do that, especially because currently the music is louder than the voices. And then secondly, I would maybe try to look into varying the OST a little bit, because like, I mean, I get it, like the other ones are from like the, you know, Trinket Trouble and stuff, but like I've listened to the dun 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 like a lot by now. It's been a bit. I've listened to it a fair few amount of times. But anyway, we're having some of the voice acting take charge in the different characters, as the challenge ends up being to go up to the to a cloud. Just climb to a random cloud. We proceeded to not know how to do that. Or at least nobody knows how to do that until Memory Locket decides to complain very harshly to the host, of course, because Memory Locket becomes a lot more ego this time. I'm not gonna lie, but like we'll see if that's necessarily trying to win. I mean, we are reaching the finale, right? I think if you're gonna play for yourself, I think it's probably time. So I think it's a reasonable tactic, but yeah, they proceed to get to. They do receive a trinket. No, they receive an item to help them climb. A SpongeBob tennis ball, which you can apparently stretch out all the way to a cloud, which we'll pretend makes sense. Yeah, they proceed to get sneak attack by last second by ghost snakes in a can, and a Moonpack heirloom, whose their strategy seemingly was like, all right, Memory Locket will know what to do. Let's not do anything and just try to snipe it at the last second. They tried, but unfortunately the snake got caught, which is kind of interesting. First of all, can that even happen? Is it not a ghost? Is that not what it is? A ghost snake? You're not supposed to be able to grab a ghost. There is no way. Like, you cannot grab a ghost snake. I refuse to believe that. Also, tape is in the voting screen. I'm not sure what that means. Can you vote tape? I don't think you usually can, right? Because like the options on screen aren't necessarily the options on the poll, right? But like I do kind of. But like it would be interesting if you could eliminate tape. And then we have some credits there at the end. Look at all the people. Shout out to unknown. Soul Sword voiced by unknown. Is that a person? Is there a person called Unknown, or do we just not know who voiced it? I would be mildly concerned if you didn't know who voice acted for your own show, but it went up to a guy in the sheet and be like, "Hello, can you voice act this character?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." But okay, then all right, cool. I'm presuming that that person is called Unknown. But yeah, overall, that is Hallo-Trinkets. We watched the 4 episodes of it. What do I think of the current status of Hallo-Trinkets? I like that it's trying to evolve. Right, it's trying to evolve a little bit. It's being like, all right, I see it knows its own struggles, right? It knows that assets could use some work because they're just taken from the game. It knows that voice acting could be useful because the thing is a little bit weird. It knows that the animation is a bit weird. Somebody's grabbing water, by the way, in the background. You're gonna hear that heat wave. And all that stuff. Like we're realizing these things and we are trying to improve, but it's an extremely gradual process, right? And it's a process that will have a million bumps, right? Like we saw the new assets, they're pretty cool. We saw the new VA. It's pretty cool, right? They're nice in theory, but they still need a lot of work to clean up and get into the area back again, right? So that's kind of the situation. We're gonna need to see, but absolutely, as of right now, we've implemented some big things that require a lot of polishing through time, and hopefully we're gonna have some time to polish it either throughout the show or through different shows and stuff. Hopefully we're gonna get to polish our VA game, right? Start voice acting a little bit better, start audio mixing a little bit better, right? Just kind of like slowly improve the craft as we do it more. I don't really have much to criticize in this case. It's like, I think it's pretty cool. Some assets are pretty standout, kind of get it looking more clean, get it looking more consistent, maybe make assets for some of the more complicated characters. Good practice, no? And all this stuff, just kind of like, slowly improve as we go along, and hopefully we can clean up our act, and then we'll have some pretty nice things going. But for now, I will say, like at the end of the day, it's pretty bold, like it's a show that's happening, the way that it is going all right, and we're taking a bold approach by changing the way that it sounds, changing the way that it looks, and even though it's of course not 100% clean, it's an appreciated move that I hope slowly through time improves heading into the future. So yeah, I can only wish the best. Anyways, next thing. Alright, next up, we are gonna go over to Battle for a Planet. Yes, because Battle for a Planet got episode 2 a while back, and I think that we should take a look at it. So, last time we took a look at episode 1. Episode 1 was relatively interesting. We ended up having our fella here, our host, being, I think, Stylus, right? Ending up hosting. They seem to be mildly awkward, but they end up making everybody battle for a planet. Very unique art style this show has. And overall, there's the challenges that are being to jump off a building, and there seemed to be kind of a clash between the hosts of powers and various activities, and the contestants being either relatively unbothered or just, a bit too human for it in the way that they are in some type of society. Like, they're not as batshit insane as the host itself, so that causes an interesting little a situation to sort of play out, but we'll see if I can get reminded a little bit more in episode 2, Battle for a Planet, episode 2, Man's Best Friend, featuring Cheesy Mayo 102. Hello. Alright. Hello, it is the next day, and we are here to cover episode 2 of Battle for a Planet. So, like a minute ago, when me yesterday was kind of reminding you of the last episode, well, no, that wasn't what happened. I mean, it was what happened, but I totally forgot what the deal with this host was, and I now remember. So the deal with this host is that they draw by with powers, but they're extremely socially anxious about it, right? That's kind of what's going on. Again, there's cars outside. That again, it's too hot, all right, for no window open. But the thing about it is that they're extremely anxious and sort of don't know what they're doing, but at the same time they have these powers that make them kind of look crazy, right? And then the contestants are sort of treading waters carefully, right? There's an interesting half humanity to the host here, right? Where you can see the character sort of approach the host as an approachable figure. Right, you can see the contestants don't consider the host somebody you cannot approach. As you see, some characters directly go ask questions to the host, right? They feel free, they protest sometimes, right? Like with the arm, with the thing, or hot dog, right? The elimination, right? So we have enough confidence to be able to chat. Right. However, we don't have enough confidence to trust. Right. That's kind of that's what's happening here in the writing. Right. Because I always find this one of the most interesting things about host dynamics is the respect for the host and the show, respectively, from the cast, is in a way directly dependent on how the host acts. Right. So the host acts relatively respectful but mega mysterious, right? That we don't know what they're from, right? But then they seem to have some powers, and they're not quite telling you the whole deal, right? But at the same time, they do seem genuinely sorry when they screw something up, and they seem to be trying to do things correctly and trying to be reasonable, right? So, you see, there's a half and half that makes you kind of allowed to, it lets you protest because you don't trust the host. So that's why, when something is dumb, characters will just tell them. Right. However, they have the confidence to do that because they don't believe something bad is going to happen to them. Right. Because if something bad was going to happen to them, they wouldn't do that. right? It's in the same way that, for example, challenges in BFP, at some point, the contestants just stop saying that they're dumb and they just deal with it because they cannot protest the 4. They will just die, right? And I think this is the interesting thing about the host dynamics here. In terms of what the host actually is, no idea. They seem to have I believe from the things that they've seemed to manage to do that they do have every power. In terms of things that are relatively algebraianistic. I know you're not algebraic. We have algebraianistic powers, right? That these mega powerful hosts can do. I think they can do that, right? They say that they can't recover. I think they can. Right? I think they can probably recover, and they can do stuff. I mean, they literally gave people arms, so they can do stuff. But there does not seem to be, yet again, that degree of confidence necessarily, right? In how things get done, which makes it kind of struggle, forgetting certain aspects and being awkward about certain aspects. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. To be 100% honest, I don't know. I always like to think with these hosts that the degree of power success is directly reliant on how convinced you are, right? Because, it always just kind of makes sense. Because it goes like, okay, if you are confident and you have clarity of mind, when you snap the finger, it does the action that your mind is thinking, right? So if you have a clarity and confidence in the action that you want to pursue, it is going to do it, right? So that's why how when something is clear, like I have to do something immediately, we can do it, right? When we're pressured, it does it correctly. However, when we're unsure, like how many dodgeballs they were supposed to spawn, they spawn way too many, right? That's kind of what I think, but of course it could be any number of reasons. Here, I don't really know. Either way, we begin the episode, and as we begin the episode, there's a couple of course, technical things about this show. This show stands out a lot on a technical level because it's very, very impressively animated. You can see how free it is in an animation sense, right? The style allows for extreme expressiveness, which is very nice. But from the challenge especially, you can see that this show has extreme animation freedom, right? A dodgeball challenge, for as much as it is an iconic quote-unquote challenge, it's not a challenge that you see done a lot in smaller object shows because it's very hard to do, right? It's very hard to do. You need characters throwing, dodging, catching, right? You need interaction, movement. You need movement, right? And a lot of movement is usually discouraged if you are limited in the animation forefront, right? You want a challenge that requires less movement. But you can see it clear as day how much this show has that freedom to do the challenge, and it feels mega smooth. It was one of the better dodgeball challenges I have seen because this show absolutely has the capability of doing that in terms of its animation and being very expressive while at the same time keeping itself strong in the area of backgrounds of scenarios, right? It does feel like there's some degree of a world here, right? There's locations. There's this lake that we saw in episode 1. There's a forest over there. There's that one building, the Elimination air, right? We're starting. It does also feel like there's a place here. Lighting work is also very solid when it needs to be, right? There's this nice flare that even in the daytime, there's a pretty constant flare going on, which makes it nice. I would say it fits in quite nicely because you notice the nighttime flare more clearly, but the daytime flare is also there. And, that gives it a constant, polished feel, which, sometimes might be a little bit of a struggle. Because you'll see shows sometimes be in the daytime, it's just basic and the sun doesn't really feel like it's anywhere. But then at nighttime, the moon, for some reason, does it, right? But On average, yeah. We end up having Bottle eventually walk over into the forest after Racket and Birdie ended up being freaking like trolling each other in the pond. But as Bottle ends up going there, they end up finding Scrunchy, this bug. This bug is probably the best representation of the animation because it's so unbelievably fluid. It's actually mega fluid, and they seem to make noises, and they just end up tagging along. They just tag along for the episode. There's no real reason. Like there's no the reason is just that it happened. You know, like they end up dipping off in this episode as well, right? They're just here for this episode. It's not like a permanent detail, but it was a nice to have. You know, it was a nice buddy to have there for the episode, but yeah, in the meantime, Birdie ends up also finding a little snail in the ground, which Racket gets extremely sad after they proceed to dehydrate in about 3 seconds from being off of the water. And Stylus is a little bit sad about this. One detail that I also want to point out in the technical, which I find personally very impressive, is that it's very like the way that the show's written is also pretty good in terms of making it in terms of style, because it focal points on one thing which a lot of shows sometimes struggle with doing, and that is non-wordy communication, non-verbal communication, right? Like in this episode, the amount of times that a character expresses something, whether it's on general awkwardness, a lack of knowledge, a sadness, pointing, right? Kind of how Birdie points the bottle to the girl and going like, by directly utilizing a sound, right? A lot. It does it a lot, and it makes it. Well, and it's a good detail. I really like that detail. The detail of having like non-verbal sounds be utilized directly as part of the script, rather than just, you know, something the VA has to vibe out, right? For like for signaling things. It's very nice. It's very nice. I like it a lot, and I think that it's one of the big writing pluses that this show has. Right, this show is written in an interesting way, but like that's absolutely one of the biggest pluses in terms of that. Okay. Anyway, so we have talked for 10 minutes, and we have so far like discussed like 2 seconds of the episode. So Cappy and Juicebox are worried about Dicey, who's of course still there in the elimination area, in the challenge area, because that's also the elimination area. They end up asking Stylus if they can do the elimination. They proceed to go do that. They end up accidentally creating a clock, and then we end up having an elimination time song for some reason. Hey, you created me for you to tell the time. Well, I am a clock, and that is my purpose, and I'm here to say it's elimination time. Bars. But yeah, as we proceed to do that for some reason, they end up dipping off to of course, host the elimination. They don't have a screen for some reason. They cannot spawn in a television, but they can, of course, spawn in a clock and void and infinite amounts of dodgeballs and also arms. But they cannot. Television can't do that. No television. Nope. Can't do television. So, all right then. As they proceed to do that, we end up having this conversation. We end up also having the elimination ceremony theme. I'm presuming they won't both play every time. I mean, it would be funny if we invent an extremely contrived reason to drop by the clock again to say it's elimination time every episode. But let's presume we don't do that. The elimination ceremony ends up playing off, and after they, for some reason, have to say the thing that they failed, the reason why they lost, is apparently something that they gotta do that. Apparently, Dicey, Yeah, there's some reasons and stuff. Burgers, of course, the reason is entirely because they were trying to get Hot Dog to jump off with them for some reason. And then Dicey was surprised because he accidentally threw off Juicebox. And then Cappy ends up just being like, alright, I'm going. So that's kind of what happens. But then the reasons end up getting given. 637 votes, Hot Dog gets eliminated. This is the least surprising thing of all time. Hot Dog, okay, I'm not gonna lie. Right. Hot Dog is the most industry plant first elimination that I have ever seen in any object show ever. There has never been a character more scientifically engineered to be out first than Hot Dog in this show. So who cares? They proceed to lash out Stylus to be like, where's the proof? Where's the proof? I don't know. You gotta recount the votes. I bet it was rigged. Because, you know, me not doing anything, that's supposed to enamor the viewers. That's supposed to make the viewers be like, damn, that guy didn't do anything. He's so cool. But yeah, Stylus is about to get freaking destroyed. But he decides to drop by what I presume is the elimination area, the elimination void. And they eventually get sucked into it. Yeah. I really like one of my favorite specific character moments is Dicey here after the elimination area, because they're just like cowering, like they have their eyes closed and their hands over their head as the elimination. They just like slowly reopen their eyes again as the portal leaves, which is kind of cute. But yeah, they were about to beat up Stylus, to be fair. Interesting thing, of course, that Stylus says is that they do not know they did not count the votes. They did not count the votes. They were told the votes. This could be just a line, right? This could just be a line, but I would like to put a pin on that. Absolutely, put a pin on that line. I was told the votes. Told by who? Who told you the votes? Did you go to the edge of the world to the twin blue stars? What did you do? What happened? I don't know. Okay, you gotta keep out an eye. All right, I want everybody who's listening, like 3 people, everybody who's listening, put a pin on that. I was told the votes, okay? We'll come back to it 4 episodes time, and we'll be like, oh my god, wasn't that such great foreshadowing to how he's actually a puppet of the evil Nintendo DS character? Yeah, go with that. Alright, let's go. Anyways, Quarter proceeds to slide down a hill. In the meantime, Gluestick and Locke, who, remember, are a thing, proceed to debate about what a group of rocks is called. What is a group of rocks called? I don't know. It's like a cave. I don't really know, to be honest, but I'll let them have the debate. I'm not gonna pitch in on this debate too much. But anyways, do we end up having a lot of times characters don't know how to speak. Dice does not know how to say acrophobia. The juice box does not know how to say like anything to anyone, but you know, life do be like that. They end up making an announcement, which is that teams are necessary. They proceed to make 2 teams of 5. For some reason, a racket does not count to 10, which is interesting. But you see what I mean? Like, there's a degree of you see, there, like, it's an allowed protest. You know, Racket feels confident enough that Stylus isn't gonna lash out at them, that they can make what's overall relatively petty debate, right? I mean, they're wrong, right? But like, there's a very interesting case here there. But anyways, we talked enough about that. We end up forming 2 teams of 5. What teams did they even end up forming? Quarter tries to be on the run, but no, they have to be on the team. I mean, to be fair, they probably could have been on a team in their own and they insisted, but Quarter was just like, do I have to? Do I have to? And then the Gluestick was, and then Sal was like, I mean, it'd be fair. So, and Quarter immediately just gives up. But, yeah, teams sticking together is comprised. I don't know if these teams are gonna stick around after this episode, but like, we'll need to see. I presume no. but because there's not enough contestants, but I don't know, maybe. Apparently the voting style might change, so we're going to see. There's Goose Thick, Locky, Racket, Birdie, and Bottle. I would say it's a pretty good team, to be honest. There's a lot of physical ability. Gluestick is quite physically capable. Birdie is very physically capable. But at the same time, somebody like Locky or like Bottle does seem to have some degree of like brain, right? Like they have ability. So it's a relatively well balanced team. I actually do like it quite a bit, this team. And then we end up having team Confetti Many Lord Dominator Step Flakes and stuff, but we end up only taking the initials of we end up taking the initials that we feel like. We don't take every initial, but yeah, it ends up being the LCMS. All right, we'll go with that. This team is Quarter, Juicebox, Cappy, Dicey, and Burger. But yeah, no, this team is significantly less capable, right? You can tell that there's more people that are unbothered, right? Like Juicebox and Burger, not very strong in terms of challenges, right? Dice and Cappy, they're pretty overexcited, but they're not like very big. There's not a lot of brain. There's not a lot of brain power, you know? Like maybe the physicals are there, but the brain power, not really. So they're definitely the worst team heading into it. But anyway, they end up giving arms to everybody who wants arms, which ends up being Locky and Quarter. So they want arms. And they get those. They're pretty hyped about it. And we end up having the challenge, which is Dodgeball. Yes, Dodgeball ends up dropping by as the challenger ends up spawning an infinite row of Dodgeballs. Yeah, we proceed to, however, have whoever the hell this I don't even, what is this can? What is this character? I don't know what this character is, but Green Can, voiced by Cheesy Mayo, proceeds to protest about how Dodgeball is such an unoriginal challenge. You know, they were even better in Object Poor, which is my favorite show, featuring the hit characters Atom Cereal Bowl, whatever. What the fuck is that? I don't know what the fuck. Alright, well, look, whatever. But yeah, and then they proceed to just walk away. And that was the cameo. That was the Cheesy Mayo cameo. So there's no, like, relevant role in the episode. It was just protester. And everybody else just kind of ignores them. They don't make that big of a fuss about it. But yeah, then we have the recommended characters. They're all drawn in style, which is cool. I like it. We end up having the challenge begin, which is pretty swag. As I already said, with this challenge, I really like it. I mean, look, the Dodgeball challenge is Cheesy Mayo correct? Is the challenge, is the challenge unoriginal? The challenge is unoriginal, as in, you'll think of this challenge because it's been done, right? Like, that's kind of one of those things. You're very unlikely to invent this challenge off your own accord, right? You invent this challenge because you've seen it, right? You've seen it from one of those first Total Drama episodes, right? You'll have seen it from a different show, right? I don't remember what show did the Dodgeball challenge, but like there's yeah, I don't remember right now. I'm not to go out here say wrong things, but like, despite that, yeah, you'll think about it because you'll probably seen it somewhere else. However, it's fine. Again, this show can afford to do it. It's very high passion. It's a sport, right? If you can make a sport look the action that it is, then it's always going to be a good challenge, right? The only danger with sports is that they're difficult to display in animation. But if you can make it proper in animation, it's always hype, right? And yet again, the character throwings, animations is like mega impressive. Like when Quarter does like the 180 and throws, like you can see the pose that they land on. Like it's so specific, right? There's so many specifics to everything that it's very fun. But yeah, they proceed to do that. Some characters are out. I very much so enjoy the casting from our fellow stylist over there with the megaphone. They end up properly giving it an announcer, and then a big out shows up on the screen. I'm gonna be honest, I'm like mildly bummed out that they didn't have an UI limit for how many people are left on each team. It's not hard to track, like it's fine, but we had it for episode 1, and it was equally as easy then, so we could have had one this time, right? We could have had a little thing on the top left, the low opacity, that showed, like, I guess the dot, like how many people are on each team or something. I don't know, that could have been nifty, that could have been scrumptious, right? But we didn't do that, so, oh well. Lockie's extremely happy because if you remember, Lockie, the one thing they did in episode 1 was complain they didn't have arms because they of course wanted to make bracelets and stuff and they were complaining about it, but now they have arms, so they're extremely happy about this. This is the best day ever. Glue Stick is extremely happy about them. Apparently when you have extreme happiness you start radiating blue dust. Which, alright, fair enough, I guess that happens. Yeah, Glue Stick is happy for them, but they do need to get Lockie to actually try to do things. They do things. Dicey proceeds to run away. Sonic drowning music proceeds to play. Somebody needs to tell Dicey about the possibility of going to the side. Take 2 steps to the left. Then we complain that Stylus was laughing as if Dice is not the dumbest person I've ever seen. Bro, jeez, or we're sprint diagonally or something. I don't know. Sprint in any other direction than this one. What are we doing? But either way, the fellas continue to get eliminated. Bottle proceeds to start knowing of a new idea, of a new tactic that most people didn't think about in dodgeball. Is that actually secret idea? What if you catch the dodgeball? You know that mechanic? Yeah, they completely forgot about that. We end up having everybody be gone except Quarter on that team. Quarter decides that they're gonna form an epic mega shot. Well, first they look really dumb. But the other team puts their guard down. I'm gonna admit, the other team mega puts their guard down. Because they just allow Quarter to stack a pile of dodgeballs. I mean, like, what the hell is this guy doing? But then he's actually secretly trying to bulldoze it, right? He's trying to just throw everything everywhere, and then theoretically that'll hit everybody. Is this a smart idea? No, it's not. I mean, because you can catch it, right? Like, okay, you might get hit, but when there's so many, sure, like, not all of them are going to be thrown the best, and therefore that means that some are going to be very catchable, right? But either way, but like with the current situation that nobody thinks about catching the ball, it ends up being a very successful strategy. The main issue is that Birdie's extremely agile, so Birdie just dodges everything. And then Bottle manages to still dodge everything, but they eventually do manage to catch the ball. Actually, well, first of all, Scrunchy, the little bug fella, which again, shout out to the way that they move, like the way that they point and end up like doing the expression to actually take the jump is extremely interesting. But yeah, they kind of sacrificed themselves to get in the pathway of the ball. It does successfully stop the ball, to be fair, so it did actually work. It was a worthy sacrifice. And Bottle then proceeded to catch the ball in honor, and Quarter gets out, which is pretty swag. They're in the loser room, the pink loser room, and they stay there. You know, the other team is officially looking pretty cool and are safe. It is elimination time. Okay, the elimination, I like how that's consistent. It'll be elimination. Dude, I really want it to be like episode like 5 or something, and then randomly Stylus notices in the middle of the voting screen that says, shit, I spelled it wrong, and then they like go over there and they correct it live. I really and it would be so funny. But unfortunately, it's not time for that yet. But, yeah, the elimination is here. The format might get changed in next episode, because I need to see which character is the most hate. Was that not the... Is that not the vote to elimination? What do you mean you gotta change the system to find out who's the most hate? This is the system to find out who's the most hate. What do you mean? What are you doing? Okay, I mean, sure, I will need to see. Yeah, either way, we end up having some characters. A Burger, Cappy, Dicey, Juicebox, and Quarter. Well, okay. The only character here that's directly mean is Quarter, right? Quarter is mean, is like Molly Rude ditched the other team, right? Ditched the other team to go here, tried to be solo, didn't work, didn't even want to really be on this team. But like they did, and protested for arms and stuff, right? Like all of this stuff. And like they're the only character that seems a logical choice, right? Because you wouldn't vote Juicebox cute. You wouldn't vote Dicey's cute. You wouldn't vote Burger's kind of fun. And Cappy's the only other one that maybe I would find as an option, because they're kind of uneventful in this episode. Like, they really don't do anything, right? Like, in this episode, Cappy is not relevant. They were relevant in the last one, but in this episode, they're not very relevant, because they just kind of, in the challenge, they don't exist until they're randomly counting who's left, and they'll be like, oh shit, I'm left, and then they proceed to immediately get hit by 14 dodgeballs at the same time, right? So, like, it's not exactly, a great episode there in terms of the Cappy perspective, but like, even though I would still say that Quarter in a vote to elimination is probably still gonna leave, right? The vote to elimination should absolutely get Quarter out here theoretically, and that is gonna be my prediction. We're gonna having the credits. Are the credits fixed? I remember the credits in episode 1 were very stupid. Yeah, the animation all but one per. Yeah, right. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Dude, I remember, isn't this the show that episode 1 credits was like, additional animation maybe by this person? It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. What do you mean maybe? but like, yeah, anyway, this is, the credits are pretty cool. I enjoy the fact that every song is listed, because sometimes we just don't consider the music credits. I mean, some people do like a description and stuff, but then it's not like a big list rather than a list for the episodes. It's kind of super difficult to find. Especially having the music credited there, it's pretty cool. I like it. I think it's pretty solid. Especially as the music for the show, it's pretty good, and the music is also a relatively big deal, right? Like the music for the show does take a center point in quite a couple of scenes, which is relatively important. Anyways, it's nighttime. We end up talking about how Scrunchy died. It was Quarter. Well, it's actually the dodgeball. But it goes how it goes, and then we get to see Hot Dog be in their little void thing. I don't think they're standing; they're like levitating. I don't think they're really capable of moving. But yeah, we need to see how that works, because we need to see if that's where they're supposed to go, right? That's kind of the only thing that we don't really know, right? Because okay, sure, they got sent to this void. Is this the elimination area? Like, is that where they go when they're eliminated? They get sent to the cosmos, right? Because, or is that a specific Hot Dog failsafe, right? Because at the end of the day, Stylus did the elimination because like Stylus never said that was the elimination area. Stylus never said they never stated that's what was supposed to happen. So it's very possible that it's not. Right, like, it's very possible that isn't not the elimination area, and we just sent Hot Dog there because we were pressured for it, and we just want to be like, fuck, leave. Right, right, something like that. But like that could be possible, but I don't know. to be honest, I don't really know. We'll need to see. My prediction, even though I think it would be interesting if it wasn't the elimination area, but I think it is, right? I think we'll probably get sent to the cosmos. Somebody else will get there. It kind of fits with the planet theme, right? Like, you battle for a planet, therefore everybody else. Can you shut up? But there's like battle for a planet, so therefore everybody else is like in space, right? Because they got no planet, right? Like, that would make sense. But yeah. Anyways, that was episode 2 of Battle for a Planet. Interesting episode. As with Battle for a Planet episodes, they don't give a shit about pacing. As in, like, you can tell, like, in the last episode, it took, like, 20 minutes to get to the challenge. In this episode, it also takes, like, 20 minutes to get to the challenge. It's a bit better, but, like, it really does spend majority of its time doing preamble, right? Doing, like, character interactions, which is fine. I actually enjoy it. It's chill. It's kind of a chill show, Like, I don't mind it. And it allows for that. Again, it's good that it can, because it can do that, right? It doesn't have a lot of characters, so it can really try to develop them, and some characters are feeling very developed, right? Like, the characters that show up the most, I do feel like I understand them, right? Because they've gotten a lot of screen time because of this pre-challenge chatter that constantly happens, right? But yeah, it's interesting how the show does this pacing. Anyways, that's Battle for Planet 2. Next thing in the video. Alright, next up, we are gonna go over to the Tetnistan channel. I think that's how you say it. Because, yeah, as we might remember, the BFPIG episode 1 sort of relaunch, reboot, ended up happening. We ended up watching it. Everybody formed their team names, and then we ended up having to throw a dagger at a team. The team proceeds to do that, and everybody else is up for elimination. A lot of people are eliminated at a time in this show. But yeah, apparently, as the number in the thumbnail says, 59 will be left as of Battle for Paradise Island Getaway, I think, is what it's entitled. Episode 2 is entitled Flying High. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 2 of BFPIG, or BFPIG, that's the funny way to say it. Okay, that's interesting. There's some, yeah, I don't know. The main gripes that I have with this show are just entirely in the gimmick, right? The gimmick that it's supposed to be a slop show with a billion characters, right? Because it's like, okay, one of the main things that it's suffering from, as one of its goals, is that it's struggling to get everybody to speak, right? So it's giving kind of random characters voice lines from time to time, right? And it's like, okay, cool, I got it, but like, couldn't you solve that issue by just not having a show with 64 characters? You know, like, I'm just saying, it'd be easier, because like, I do think that the potential's there, because animation wise it is interesting. I do like the way that this show looks, the way that movement is done. It's there, right? The way that movement is done is there. The way that the assets are, it's there. The way that even the challenges, I mean, of course the challenges are very basic, because very kind of like do one thing challenges. They're very improved from the Be a Pig original challenges, though. I will still say that. Because, you know, like, they are just challenge where to do one thing, but at least that thing gets done. We see the challenge getting pursued, we see the winner, and we see why the teams are for elimination, because they got chosen by the winner, right? So it's very direct, very solid in that aspect. So, like, I do certainly prefer it, and in terms of, like, how, like, if you're gonna make a 3-minute episode in a super large cast show, right, like this, I do think this is a pretty solid way to do it. The main, like, technical gripe, I don't have many technical gripes with it. The main one is just audio. Audio makes it lower the music. Lower it way down. That is way too loud. It overshadows the vocals. It overshadows the VAs like 90% of the time. So absolutely lower down the music, but otherwise, in terms of how it looks, I do personally enjoy how it looks. How the challenges are, I personally don't mind the challenges. If they're supposed to be quick challenges like that, that's a good way to do it. And overall, everything's looking pretty alright. So, yeah, but shout out to the fakest wheel spin I think I've ever seen. But either way, Glue Stick ends up picking bias, easiest mini games, and technology technicians to be up for elimination, because they felt like it. One person on each team. Who would I pick? On technology technicians, I'll say Fez, because it's kind of goofy name. On the EMG, I'm going to pick Hot Chocolate, way too wide of an asset. And then on Team Bias, I'm going to pick Remote, because I don't like the fact that you're hiding beneath the Flip a Clip logo. I don't know if I can respect those maneuvers. But yeah, overall, that is episode 2. In terms of how it is with original BFPIG, it's definitely improved from it in its mission statement. It's doing its mission statement, I would say, nearly about as well as it can, right? Like, it can't really do too much more, unless it decides to become a mini, or to like I guess lengthen itself. So it's it either gets longer or turns into a mini, and it's not doing either of those things. So in the way that it's currently is, yeah, I would say that this is probably how you make a show like this, right? There's not much to really say here. But yeah, hopefully the music is lowered. Episode 3 is entitled Numerals. Go. Alright, that is episode 3 of BFPIG, or Battle for Paradise Island Getaway, and yeah, same thing. same points on this one as the last one. I do relatively like the character interactions. It's a shame that no character gets to, gets to progress, right? The amount of character progression that happens is very minimal because of the way that, of course, it operates, right? Like, it's trying to give a voice line to every character, but, like, it can't really give any character progression, right? It's giving characters lines for the sake of this character doesn't have a line yet, rather than this character should speak. Right, that's kind of how it's going. Which, hey, it's par for the course with the style, but you know, it's I guess mildly unfortunate. But either way, in terms of challenge, absolutely, I also like this challenge. I mean, okay, yes, the challenge is RNG, it's roll a 1 on a die, but like it does successfully, like we get to see the people try it, which is one of my complaints sometimes with these quick challenges, right? There's like one team does it, and it's like, well, what the hell were the other teams doing? No, we got to see every team do it. We got to see every team fail except for the team that succeeds, right? That's nice. That's smart. I like it. All right, I'm a big fan of that. So like it's showcasing the challenge process. So I absolutely should say keep that up. In terms of technical aspects, VA is fine. Yeah, I mean like it's hard because the music is too loud for me to really judge the microphone quality. Like you gotta lower the music. That's absolutely my number one thing. Also, by the way, did I perfectly call the 3 eliminated contestants, bro? Wait a minute. The eliminated contestants eliminated Hot Chocolate, Fez, and Remote. What? How did I do that? What the hell? I am a pro gamer. How did I call it? That's actually crazy. What? Wow. That's mad. That's crazy, bro. All right. Well, you heard it here first. I'm the guy. Well, anyways, it turns out that I think Leafy manages to get a 1 on the die, which makes the die fly off into the sky, and it turns into the intro, which, by the way, I do like the intro. And I also like the climate time intro, which I've nearly forgot to say. I do like the climate time intro. I like it. It's like having there be kind of like a general area, and then it comes in kind of jazzy sound. I like it. But we end up having 6 teams go for elimination, so only one team got to the power of safety. Everybody's go for elimination. I guess let's quickly say vibes. Science speaker box on the technology is going to go. On the lucky 8, I think it's going to be the gonna be the Nintendo PlayStation. On the EMG, I'm gonna say it's Cube. On Sweet Victory, I'm gonna say is there going to be any type of reasoning for this? Who was mean? There was somebody that was mean. I don't remember who it was. Hold on. It was the... Wait, what? Oh, wait, are you on another team? Wait a minute. Wait, what? Hold on. Wait. Wait, no, I'm mad cooked. Wait a minute, I don't know what's going on. Wait, I got everything wrong. Hold on. Wait, no, because Leafy team's up for elimination. Wait, then who's safe? Wait. What? Hold on. They got a 1. These fellas got a 4. The science speaker gets a 3. Yeah. Then what's that noise? The die from the Leafy team starts to fly off, turns into the intro, and then they win. No, did it not win? Wait a minute, who's safe? Wait, it's the team. It's the team with like the cartridge. Wait, what team is that? What? Wait, what did they do? How did they get? Wait, I take back everything. This channel sucks. Wait a minute, what? I'm just gonna keep this in because this is funny. What happened? Wait, hold on. They did throw a die. They got like a 4. Yeah, they didn't. What? I have never been more confused. You know, I'm not. The short. All right. No. Okay, I know I'm overrunning this, but like, wait a minute. Wait. Surely the Leafy team wins, right? Or like whatever you call Paradise Leaf. Surely they won, right? They got 1. The other fellas got 4, and they're safe. Nah, this is bullshit. All right, never mind. I take it back. Bad challenge. Yeah, whatever. Damn, I've never been more confused. I've been betrayed. The show's betrayed me. Was the show? I thought the show showed the people who won. It's betrayed me. But yeah. Anyways, the process of the challenge is theoretically good if the team that wins actually wins. And overall, I do like the animation, the way that it looks. I would personally recommend trying out sometime, having a show with less characters, right, and like more character interaction to it, because I do think that the potential is there. The assets are clean. Even the interaction, they can be relatively fun, but there's just not enough of them to really stand out. So I would absolutely recommend it beyond just this. I mean, like at the end of the day, okay, yeah, sure. You know, if we're doing this is fine, but like I would personally be in the vibe of like I think that having a like more kind of character interaction focused show could be, you know, an interesting addition to the lineup here, you know, alongside this, rather than this being the only one. Like I would recommend it personally, but you know, it goes how it goes. Anyways, so my bad on completely misunderstanding everything. Let's go to the next thing before I explode. Alright, next up, another one of the things which I was supposed to look at in that episode that was supposed to happen before hiatus, it is Shape World, but not the Shape World that you think. So Object Show Studio, which is the creator of Blue, apparently has I guess their own rendition of a Shape World, which is an object show, so we must watch it. I don't really know much about. To be honest, I don't know much about Shape World. To be like, well, I guess we'll see, right? The episodes are mega short, so I might as well just get on with it. Episode 1 is entitled "The Palace of Doom." Go. What? Okay, alright, look, I get it. Shape World episode 1. This is a Shape World. Okay, here's the thing. I don't actually know. Okay, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I don't actually, like, know what Shape World is. I think that Shape World is, like, one of those shows that's, like, it's a show, right? Like, I know it as, like, the name of the show that's supposed to be very bad. That's, like, that's, like, famously bad show. This is, like, I guess, a rendition of it. So yeah, it's base boosted beyond comprehension. It is bit crunched beyond comprehension. And overall, yeah, it is definitely a thing. In terms of the contents of it, Parallelogram doesn't know what the challenge is. So the challenge is to make up a challenge. The characters are shapes, therefore a Shape World. And Ichor Sahedron is the only character that didn't come up with it. There don't seem to be actually that many characters competing. But overall, yeah, that's definitely an episode. Shout out to the subtitles. I'm really the subtitles are funny, and you know they feel like I'm one with the subtitles. You know, like I'm out here be like, yo, all right, we're watching this bullshit. Subtitles, you my bro, all right? You the subtitles don't seem bothered either. So like, come on, we bros out here, all right? Yeah, let's keep surviving. Episode 2 is entitled "Believe in Yourself." Let's go. Alright, that is episode 2 of the Pit series Shape World Object Show Studios rendition. Yeah, I mean, same thing, you know, it's me and the subtitles against the world. The subtitles cannot be bothered. It's really fun. I love the subtitles on the. It's a nice like consistent gag. that like that follows along the show, right? Because it's like, okay, I get the show. It's kind of like low quality, little gags that are just kind of supposed to be like that, and then goofy stuff happens. And it's like low poly, and like I get it, but like the subtitle just consistently being random bullshit is like I love it. I like it quite a bit. So yeah, like even just the all caps in the freaking subtitle, like it doesn't matter. It'll just do it what it wants. You know, it just does what it wants. It protests. Which is quite funny. Anyways, what happens? Okay, so it's more Shape World. It randomly gets high quality though, which feels illegal. Then we end up singing a song. Welcome to Shape World 2. No, I'm not singing it. Okay, I know I sang the song for Blue. We're not singing this bullshit. Okay. And they randomly go like, what the hell's going on? But then Triangle proceeds to get eliminated. And then we're back to lower quality. The musical is the thing. You for some reason cannot be mean to them. And then Hexagon is eliminated because yes. So yeah, Shape World is one of the most series of all time. Really, should I try it? You know, like part of me is thinking right now, like, yo, I'm not saying logical things. What do you mean I'm not saying logical things? There is nothing logical. I'm supposed to say number 7, cool, I like. Episode 3, the clock ticks down. Alright, it's episode 3, and what the hell did they do to the subtitles person? Oh, sure, what happened to them? This is a new investigate. I am distraught by this. You don't even understand. The subtitles are gone. There are no more subtitles for this episode. What happened? Where did they go? Who murdered the subtitle person? I need to know right now. We are doing a in-depth 1 year-long investigation. I am protesting Shape World until they rehire. They fired them. No, I'm protesting. I'm protesting Shape World until they rehire subtitle person. We can't be having Shape World without subtitles. It's impossible. I refuse to trust it. It cannot be there. No. I don't like it. I'm gonna sit here in silence for 2 minutes. I'm kidding. I'm not that petty. But, seriously, what happens? I have no idea. You cannot. You literally. The quality is too big crunched in terms of the audio to know. I think they do a challenge. I mean, I don't know. Do they do it? I don't know what they do. They do a thing. Then it's like challenge time or something. Then 5 minutes passed, and I think Circle gets eliminated. Right? The only thing which maybe I've understood is I think we say Circle is out, but I don't know. I have no idea. And then after that happens, we end up having a random like I don't know, like move for editing software montage with the text changed to just all Shape World, right? Which is kind of funny, but like, I'm missing my subtitles, man. I'm missing my subtitles. I need my subtitles to make fun of it. You know, like the subtitles would have been so good. The subtitle would have been like, OMG, it's landscape again when it showed up for the 3rd time. And then I would have been like, haha, you are so right. We're in this together, you know. I shared camaraderie with the subtitles is gone. They're no longer there. What would I ever do without the subtitles in Shape World? This is one of the saddest days ever. Apparently, Shape World 4 is releasing. Shape World 4, it is this summer, according to the end. I mean, I don't know who got eliminated. I'm just gonna presume that Circle got eliminated. Okay, there's no subtitles to tell me. But yeah, Shape World 4 is this summer. Hey, I mean, like, considering it's freaking, I don't even know how many degrees is it right now? It is like 28 degrees. I think it's summer. You better get on it. you best get on that Shape and rehire the subtitle person. Okay. No, but alright. Shape World. I'm like turning into caveman. And I watch too much Shape World. I watched 3 episodes. That's too many. Shape World. Shape World. Everybody wish Blah a happy birthday, or else you will never get your. Huh? You will never get your. Maybe that's subtitles. Maybe I gotta wish them a happy birthday. Who do I need to wish a happy? Red cup, reddest cup. I need to wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday right now. Okay, I know. I might let yes. You see, I'm just so good. I gave you the happy birthday for the next birthday. Maybe that way we can get the subtitles back. All right. I wish you happy birthday, freaking like 9-10 months early. Look how cool I am. All right. Dude. Shape word. Okay, next up, I'm gonna actually go back a couple of months because there's one episode that I completely missed, and I feel very bad. So I'm gonna cover it here. Basically, Indigo to Guy 12, back in like episode 56 or something. That was 6 months ago. We took a look at BFMS, the first 5 episodes, and episode 6 released like 3 months ago. I should have taken a look at it. I didn't. I don't know what happened. But yeah, if we remember last time, there was like a big ass explosion, so everything dipped. And I think the challenge was to make an elimination area, right? Because the host was gone for a little bit, right? And I think one team had either made a new area and the other team had to repair. However, a majority of people were dead, yeah, because we were bringing back a recovery center, right? That's why the host was gone. They were fetching a recovery center. So, then they got a delivery of some new fella called like Stickman, which is supposed to help, and theoretically it construct what the fellas are supposed to do. I think what like the bowling ball I think was supposed to help, right? However, it ended up being a bit complicated because the Stickman couldn't do that many things, right? So that's kind of interesting. I guess, but either way, then the contestants in the elimination hall ended up hosting ended up judging and giving the results, and then afterwards we ended up having the shipment of the recovery center. Yes, that's what happened. There we go. Episode 6 is entitled Special Delivery. Go. Alright, so a while back, like a couple hours ago, I took a look at BFMS 6. I was not able to discuss it at the time because I had to go do some things. So you're going to need to give me a lot of benefit on the doubt here on this on this segment, because first of all, it's been 6 months, half a year since I last watched BFMS, so you know I'm not gonna remember everything, and there's also been a couple hours since I watched this episode, so no, I remember everything here. But either way, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not even that much to remember really with this show. This show is kind of just chill, right? Like it's a nice little palate cleanser of a show, right? Because there's not much, like, there's not a lot of drama, you know? Like, there's not much to debate here with this show. It's kind of, and that, you know what, that feels nice, right? Because, you know, with a lot of the other shows, right, they're very much so trying to do a thing, right? They're very much so trying to do a thing, and, alright, like, stick to a vision and have a plot and stuff, and that's perfectly fine, right? Innovation attempts, and that causes discussion and, you know, a little bit more pizzazz, but it is nice to have a show like this from time to time, right? As me, you know, somebody who takes a look at a million shows, that, like, that's just kind of clean, and I don't really have to debate it on anything, right? Like, it's, in terms of production, it's relatively solid, right? It's animated, I would say, by the way, in a mildly more clean way than the other episodes. I know that the other episodes also were relatively clean in how they were looking, right? But this one did feel like, especially, it had like an additional degree of polish, some more expressions than the usual, which is nice. I would say that the animation is very fluid in this show. I actually like it quite a bit, and you can tell because it allows itself to do many things, right? Like the cracking walls, right? Things that you can't usually necessarily do. And yeah, but overall, it's a show that you don't really gotta debate with too much. It's kind of just does its competitions. The characters do a couple of thingies, right? But like, there's not too much relationships going on, right? So there's like, it's all right, right? It's pretty nice, right? But either way, we end up starting off here with the Stickman, who's there now with Bottle, right? Because they're supposed to be roomies. They steal the things until they eventually go to the elimination area between them and the other fella, which proceeds and the bowling ball, right, which ends up having Stickman be eliminated. That makes sense. They didn't really help out a lot, despite the fact that they were supposed to. Their characters randomly drop by, and they're not really an object, so them getting eliminated makes perfect sense. They proceed to run away until eventually getting successfully flying into the hole of the losers. In the meanwhile that this happens, Peppermint smells fruit gummies and goes to eat them until they realize they did not eat fruit gummies, they just ate fruit. The fruit happens to smell like fruit gummies. Isn't that crazy? And they start to go insane. It's like, holy shit, I just ate something that's not candy. I am cooked. Which gets them to feel very much so down as the challenge ends up getting set up. But the challenge is just kind of hot potato. No, it's not hot potato. It's the opposite of hot potato, actually. It's it's basically hold the box, you know. So yeah, the challenge here is to hold the box, and they proceed to do so. I also really like the way I really like I think the best show off of the animation with Disc. I think Disc has a lot of scenes, whether it's front facing, laying down, spinning, or diagonal. Like, you can see Disc being the shadowing as well. You can see Disc being one of the strongest show offs of the animations here of the show. I would absolutely say, like, take a look at Disc. To be able to see kind of what the peak is, until eventually Disc comforts Peppermint by going like, yo, look, the fruit is it's pretty much candy, right? It's like, we're fine, right? So that's fair. Maybe the only thing, right, and I don't know how to really describe this complaint, right, but like, the only thing that I would maybe debate here for this show is that as a VA experience, right, in terms of like the audio, right, I would argue that it's not very, like, the voices are a little bit monotone in the way that they vary, right? Like, they all, like, I feel like majority of them, like, some characters do specifically do a higher voice, but a lot of the characters kind of just sound a little samey, you know. It's in a way that you can't really explain, right? And it's not that big of a deal, but if I'm gonna, like, because, you know, I want to, like, give a little bit of criticism, right? But like, the criticism that I'm gonna give is pretty much like, yeah, I would say to, like, try to vary a little bit how the character sounds, because, like, you can see it especially in how a character kind of starts speaking, right? Like, the characters will start speaking in a very the characters kind of start speaking in a very convinced voice, and then it slowly goes down, right? It's kind of like, my cord got disconnected, can you plug it back in, right? And then, like, every character does that in, like, a different way. Like every character, like, with a different line. Sorry, they do it with a different line, but, like, they're still that same way, right? Like, it's kind of like, I saw them heading near the old elimination play. Like, you see, they kind of start high and then lower themselves because you start saying the line with a lot of conviction. And it's like, okay, get it, but not every person on earth talks like that, right? So that's kind of like one of the things. I feel like trying to vary it a little bit might be something that I would possibly recommend, and it might be a little bit of a secret little game changer, you know. It's not that big of a deal. It does not matter that much, but I think it'd be pretty cool. I'm just saying. I think it'd be an improver. Anyways, the challenge is to be the last one holding the box. By the end of it, it's a pretty generic challenge. It's a pretty generic challenge. They proceed to do that to a relatively regular degree. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, no, there's really not much to say about the challenge. It's chill. It was an enjoyable little watch. They do a couple of strategies, right? Balloon tries to fly off because they can do that. But they get caught before then. Bucket tries to go to the fortress, tries to build like a fort around the old elimination area. The problem is that place is about as fragile as a potato, so they end up failing quite a lot. Yet again, there's a lot of cool little character expressions that I enjoy quite a bit. And overall, I think that the fellas do a good job. It's well stylized, which I will say it's useful to point out. It's useful to point out because, of course, there are multiple animators in the show. Right, it's not like a one-man thing, so we gotta keep hold of the style guide, and we are keeping hold of the style guide relatively well. I'm gonna be 100% for real. I could not tell you who animated what scene, like not at all. I actually generally could not tell you the animation swaps. I did not notice them. Which is good, right? Yeah, that's good. That means that there is good work that is being done for sure. I mean, yeah, overall, like it's just solid stuff. Either way, we end up having at the end of the challenge, they end up debating it all the way until the end. Peppermint ends up stealing the box. After Peppermint steals the box, we unplug the charger for some reason to find out what happens. Turns out that I guess the charger being plugged in sort of allows limb usage. They have to be like connected or something. So that's what ends up happening. Peppermint tries to hide in the store. That doesn't end up working. It gets stolen by Charger. No, it gets stolen by Botto, who runs away with it. However, Charger's now rejuvenated plug ends up throwing them. It conveniently lands on their head, and therefore Charger manages to win. Good job, Charger, for winning. Everybody else is up for elimination. The store proceeds to get beaten up even a little bit more because Peppermint, right? Because Peppermint, all right. And therefore the other two teams are up for elimination. I feel like I've had this debate before, but I don't remember if one character or two characters gets eliminated here. I feel like, again, for this show, dude, I feel like I have done. How many people got eliminated? Was it 2? Or was it 1? I don't know. I don't remember. Vote in the pinned comment. I don't know. Let's check the pinned comment for a minute. Did people vote 2 or did people vote 1? I don't remember. They voted only 1. Well, if they voted only 1, then probably only one person gets eliminated, right? Okay, so we're going to go with that. One person gets eliminated. That's going to be my prediction, I think. Who's going to get eliminated? I don't know. Maybe, okay, I think it's probably somebody on their team. I think Water Bottle and Balloon would be relatively liked, right? They've got kind of a thing going on, not with each other, but like they've got like arcs and stuff. So I would say that those are relatively chill. Gumball, I think, just skates by. Bowling Ball was at risk the other episode, so I don't really know. Maybe. And I don't know, that team, it sticks less in my mind. Soap and Pumpkin especially, I feel like are not sticking a lot in my mind. Pumpkin, it's a vote to eliminate. Pumpkin does stand out, but does stand out in a negative way. Or, like, I don't know, because again, this is such a chill show, right? Like, you gotta kind of think of the vibe, because the vibe in a way directly indicates the voting pattern, right? So, I would say the voting pattern on this would say that, like, okay, yeah, Pumpkin probably might get eliminated in another show, but I'm gonna say Soap. So that I just kind of, it's probably wrong. Like, I'm not very confident in this, but I'm gonna say Soap. Soap doesn't feel very eventful, and in a type of show where you're just kind of watching it, right? Like, it's kind of chill. There's not a lot of stakes. I would say that a character being uneventful is probably worse, and therefore why you would vote it, because there's less reason why you would dislike it. Like, why would you dislike anybody in this show? Be for real. Be so for real. Why would you dislike anybody? Right? So that's why I'm saying that being uneventful is worse. So I think Soap is gonna be my prediction, but I have no idea. Like, generally it's based on not a lot. And overall, yeah, that's BFMS. I'm gonna have to be able to catch up with this show again because I don't know what happened. It just slipped under my radar. You know, it slipped under my radar when I was doing the catch-ups, I guess, that time frame, because I did not see it. My heavy apologies. But when I was doing the re-audit, I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I never took a look at that. So there you go. I mean, I also feel a little bit bad because again, there's not a lot to say about this show. It's a clean show with a nice style, with with nice audio overall, right? Like you know, I had the little critique on the VA side, but like overall it's fine, right? It's all. The critique on the VA side only arrives because every character is voiced by the same person, right? So, like, any individual character's voice, I think, is fine. It's just that when you put them all together, there's not enough variating in the one person's voice, right? But, like, even then, audio is relatively fine. I don't mind it, right? It was just kind of a thing to say, because why not? In terms of writing, it's fine. It's chill. Like, they're not... It's a show that's very fine. The show is very fine, and you know, a lot of people will say that boring not necessarily boring, that uninteresting equals bad. I disagree. I think that a show that's uninteresting in a way like this one, right, a show that just kind of does its job cleanly and there's very little to generally discuss, I think is perfectly fine, and I actually enjoy them a lot. It's actually definitely on the higher class of shows that I enjoy. These type of shows are just kind of chill. You sit down with them, you watch it, you give a couple of thoughts. There's not much writing on it, right? Because the show is just kind of doing its thing in the way that it does it, and it's perfectly fine the way that it does it. And overall, yeah, it's low stakes. You know, it's low stakes. It's chill. We chilling. You know, we chilling. We gaming. All right, cool. That is BFMS 6. Next thing, maybe. Alright, one more thing for today, because it's a bit of a, I guess, kind of mildly busy day. But we are going over, alright, to the Javon channel because PowerCore 3 released quite a while ago. Another show which we took a look at also quite a while ago, PowerCore, had an interesting episode last time, which was to... What was it? It was to, like, be drunk the longest, right? Be, like, the last to pass out or something. Which was a very, 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 very interesting little challenge. I must admit. It was a little confusing because it was kind of difficult to understand what was real and what wasn't. But overall, I don't even know who won. I think it's... Who won? I think it's like the bowling ball or something. But, yeah, it was a bit complicated, right? It's been a bit... Let's see how PowerCore is doing in episode 3, which is entitled Twilight Conflict. Go. Alright, that is episode 3 of PowerCore. Yet again, you are going to need to deal with me here because it's been quite a bit since I watched PowerCore. But as far as what I remember of PowerCore, and even here, right, yeah, it suffers a bit from like just a general little communication problem. Right, like, it doesn't really tell you what's going on, right? Like, do I know what happened? Do I know what happened? Not really. So, I think, let me try to run you through the events of this episode, okay? So, it's nighttime. For some reason, Lightbulb's awake, and they're having their revelations, alright? And then randomly, a yo-yo light equivalent ends up dropping down into the ground, alright? And splits off into a couple of pieces, meaning that people are capable of getting powers. Battery notices and gets some powers, which are pretty cool. And therefore, we end up hitting up the Kando, being like, hey, yo, this is a challenge idea. Let's utilize these powers and hang out with them for a little bit. We do end up having the idea of a battle royale utilizing the powers. Also, I think Dryer got eliminated, despite the fact that they're... No, what? No. Wait. I don't know. Somebody got eliminated. I think, right? Wait. Let me just confirm who was up for elimination in the last... No, Dryer wasn't up for elimination. No. I got it wrong. Dryer was annoying last time. But, yeah, who got the most that got eliminated. However, if they won this challenge, they get to stay and can choose anybody they want to be eliminated on the other team, which is quite a bit of power considering, of course, these aren't individual challenges. This is a team challenge, right? So you can not do much and still win. So there's quite a bit of power. So other than that, which is a little bit confusing, we end up having the thing would be, okay, sure. So it's a battle royale with powers. However, majority of people don't get powers. We don't supply the powers and then do a battle royale. No, we do a battle royale and the powers are just there. I mean, the half of the people just don't get the power in time. like the majority of people don't take the power. And then we end up having a little bit of a problem. Some people try to beat up the brick. The brick ends up having their power be like a super strength. They just don't die, and they're also a brick, right? So they end up debating it with Mint. Mint proceeds to die. Remote's there. Lightbulb is chilling. However, after a little bit, we end up the fake candle decides to put a stop to it because there's like a random. Because the powers are going insane, or something is happening. I don't know what. There are just explosions now. Things are exploding. Things were going fine. Not anymore. Explosions everywhere, right? And it's like these things are unstable. They gotta survive. Everybody starts talking. Lightbulb is trolling. They explode. The fake candles now half they've been half candle. They were already half candle, but then who's the mod? The dad has to be a candle. What does that even mean? I will go with it. I guess biology. So all of that's happening. Then Brick happens to be safe. I think they're the last one standing. And then the episode just ends. But wait a minute. If the episode just ends, weren't there an elimination to do? Right? That the eliminated contestant would have theoretically either been eliminated or, supposed to vote. And Brick was one of the people in the voting screen, which means that Brick might have had a chance to be eliminated, but we don't know that. We don't receive any information on the matter. We just end up seeing... We send a Brick wins and then nothing happens. Does that happen next episode? Why doesn't it happen on this episode? I mean, I guess everybody else is dead, but for A, how are they coming back? And B, what happened? Why are there random explosions going on? Maybe it's the part of me wanted to debate, it's more meteors falling from the sky, because if you take a look at the description, it's like when a mysterious meteor crashes the game. Maybe it's like a meteor shower, or maybe. But then in the episode, we say that these things are unstable. So maybe it's the powers going crazy with Battery, right? And they're unleashing and causing random stuff. But then Battery exploded. Everybody else exploded, right? And there wasn't any powers to... I don't think Lightbulb got powers. I don't think Fake Candle had powers. And then there was still an explosion in that general direction. So, you see, I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to be absolutely 100%. I'm trying to put real thought into it. I'm really trying out here, but I don't know what's going on. It's not giving me enough communication. It's not communicating to me what is happening. And this is an issue that I think is just synonymous with the show. The show needs to give greater information about what is going on, because I don't know. And in the last episode, it was a lot of the same thing. Yeah, a lot of random stuff was happening because of the challenge prompt, which is being under the influence, right? Being drugged up and having hallucinations and stuff. But it was really difficult to understand what was an hallucination and what wasn't, right? And I get it. Maybe that was the point, but it's too confusing, You can't tell how well a character is doing at it if half the time it's real, half the time it's not, and there's no direct effect to point out something being real or isn't, right? Then he goes in this episode, there's no communication. I'm sure it makes sense. I'm sure, if it's a meteor shower, that makes sense. If it's the powers going out of control, that makes sense. Those both make sense, but they can't both be possible options at the same time. Then it stops making sense. Does that make sense? These sentences are so complicated, but I hope that we're catching it. I hope that we're understanding these sentences, because they're pretty important. And it's absolutely the main thing that I need to say with PowerCore. It needs better communication about what the idea is. I'm sure that the challenge idea is logical, that the progression idea is logical, but it's just treating it as a fact without writing it into the script, and the animators are not doing a good enough job of communicating it, right? The explosions, we're not doing a very good job of communicating what's going on. If it's not supposed to be verbally said, it's supposed to be shown, but it just explosion. It's not even an explosion. You don't see an explosion. It's just a fade to white and then a sound. So I'm presuming it's an explosion. Maybe it's a laser beam. I don't know. So yeah, absolutely. The main thing with PowerCore is that everything else in terms of the technical aspects, VA is alright. The stuff's alright. Animation's alright. Maybe a little bit inconsistent. But like on average, that doesn't matter. The absolutely main thing that I have to solve is that, and I would also maybe recommend. I mean, maybe it's impossible to do here because it's already settled it. But this is I'm sorry, this is one of the most boring settings I have ever seen. I get that it's a field, but it's not, there's not even anything to play with on the field. It's not a field with a store, for example, the BFMS that we saw, right? It's not even a field with a forest on the side. It's not a field with trees. There's no buildings. It's just a field. There's not even grass. There's not even like tufts of grass. This field is legitimately, and I'm not even kidding with you, just green. It's just green coloring. It could really utilize anything being there, right, for the characters to sort of play around with. And they kind of did that for the first challenge, right, where they ended up going into the little into the side area, right, for the capture the flag. But again, that was the one episode, and that was, I think, probably the strongest episode, because that was the episode that was the most clear cut. And even then, I don't remember it having perfect communication about who had the flag at each time, right? So, yeah, I would try to variate a little bit more from this scenario, right, from this landscape, because it's not an interesting landscape, and I would absolutely mainly focal point on getting clarity out to us as much as possible, because right now, I'm going to be honest, the last 2 episodes of PowerCore, I haven't really been understanding what was going on while watching it, and that's a big problem. So that's the main thing I got to fix. Next thing, or outro, not sure. All right, one more thing here for the nighttime, for the nighttime crowd, because it's nighttime. We are going to take a look at TWT, all right, because that is yet again another one of the shows that we were meant to watch back in the, episode that I was going to do before I put a pause to it. The Wacky Toy Box, a show by RayAdventures, the extremely fast-paced show, had its first challenge be to cook. And then the contestants ended up cooking to various degrees of success. They ended up putting in a body in one of them, I think. And then some, I don't even, it's a lot. They had like the best thing. No, they ate, wait. One of them made Ray, but cannibalism bad, and it was just a plushie. One of them had a dead body on it, and one of them was like a spaghetti. So, yeah, that was kind of what was going on. Let's see if Nighttime Me is ready for this shit. Episode 2 of the Wacky Toy Box is entitled Elimination Time. Go. What the fuck? I was not ready for that at 1 in the morning. I was expecting energy, but we got energy. It was an energetic episode. Absolutely, but it was not the type of energy I was anticipating. Okay. How do we break that down? Okay, so we have a interesting tonal shift, but we have a tonal shift that's not a pacing shift. It's very, very much so still a super fast-paced show. That's at the end of the day the main thing that it is. It's not as fast-paced because of the nature of the vibe shift, but it's about as fast-paced as you can have the vibe shift be, which is interesting because it's of course taking it on a little bit of a more dark approach. So what ends up happening, we gotta of course talk about what happens to be able to really understand elimination time. We have the name here, the title card for the episode. Again, as I always say, if your episode has a title card, it is trying to be cool, and this is indeed an episode that is a little try hard. And we have, of course, the credits. Shout out to that one person who I can't read the credit of because the screen is zooming in, bro. But either way, we end up having the contestants end up doing a little bit of debating before we end up hosting the elimination. The eliminated contestant ends up being the barrel fella. Barrel monkeys. Got eliminated. Now, what did they do? I don't remember. I'm sorry. there were too many things go on in the Toy Box 1. I think they fucked up the spaghetti, right? Because, like, they did a spaghetti that tasted like a dead body, I think was the reason, well, right, that they lost. And I think he might have been the one that had the idea, right? Because they, like, they melted somebody. Did they make a... Oh, what did they do? God damn it. I know that they definitely turned someone into food. But I don't remember. I think it was this guy's fault that the team lost. But I don't, so I think it was a fair limit. Because I have some vague memory of, like, you doing a thing. But I don't know that shit. But yeah, I don't, maybe they melted the chocolate fella. Has that happened? I don't know. I really don't. But, well, yeah, the Barrel Monkeys ends up getting eliminated, and they proceed to go over to home, quote-unquote, and they end up getting sent in a hole, and this is where, of course, the main conflict of the episode goes. They get sent in a hole, they proceed to get mauled, and just absolutely die. Crown gets super sad because it was their only friend. Hammer tries to comfort them, and then they get super mad at Wacky for doing that, and ends up being like, if we are not doing the show, and then Wacky says, you can't do that, you can't forfeit, because, you know, if you forfeit, you'll get eliminated, and then my little friend will proceed to get you and skin you alive, which is, you know, definitely a predicament to find yourself in. So everybody is, you know, having to compete because they're fucked if they don't, right? They just die. It turns, of course, the show into an extremely high stakes endeavor. You know what happens? It's over if you lose. It's extremely high stakes. You gotta get on with it. So that's interesting. Now, in terms of what I actually think about that as an idea, there's like a significantly, like, there's a too striking resemblance to Poppy Playtime to really make me kind of go like, wow, such original. Because, like, I haven't played Poppy Playtime, right? But as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure that, again, correct me if I'm wrong, or if it's a different game, but I'm pretty sure it's Poppy Playtime. In Poppy Playtime, you do need to take the toys, which are alive, and you need to discard them into this mystery hole where they proceed to get eaten, right? Pretty sure that happens in Poppy Playtime. The guy in the hole, which I don't personally know what the inspiration is, but we do get a credit in the comments saying that there's specifically a character from Poppy Playtime, and in nearby scenes we have Poppy Playtime music playing here. So it's extremely borrowed, right? It's very, very borrowed from Poppy Playtime. And I mean, like, I probably would not have caught it, right? You're just very unlucky that despite not playing indie horror, I happen to know of the one moment in Poppy Playtime where they discard toys and they die, right? But, like, either way, it's very, very inspired. So I'm not sure if I can really give it too much credit here, right? Like, it's very inspired. But, either way, it's interesting. Then we end up having the toys outside. First of all, how the hell are they outside? How the hell did they get away with doing that? I thought they were doing a Toy Story, right? Where they're not alive, right? When the kid's looking. Like, what do you mean they're awake in there? Hold on. Yeah, because they were awake. They only went to bed then, right? Which means that the toys had to walk out. I would find it pretty suspicious. Do you think they never looked out the window, saw the crown toy just chilling there in the grass, and going like, what the hell? How did they get onto the outside of the house? But, either way, they end up having Crown ends up giving the backstory about how they spend the whole childhood together, since the day they were bought. They were friends, they're epic and stuff. They were hanging out with everybody until everybody eventually grew out of being friends with them, and then they turned into a bad person, and stuff, and then karma struck, and then I lost them. Yeah, you know, I think it's quite poetic how this show, you know, the show which it's a synonym for exaggerated quantities of speed, proceeds to do this type of character like loss, like sympathy moment scene that that like is way too fast. You know, because it's like, yeah, I mean, you can do this, and I get it, and it kind of works, but this the type of scene where it's like, to do sympathy scene like this, you should you don't have to, but you really should give it a degree of like knowledge beforehand, right? You know, you gotta give it a bit more knowledge. And like, okay, again, I'm not 100% remembering episode 1. I'm sure these two had a scene, but either way, we don't get the connection, right? Like, the only reason why I know that they had such a deep connection isn't from anything else, is because of this backstory, right? I'm only getting told after the sad scene why the scene is sad, right? When I should probably know beforehand, but like that would be a sad occurrence, because that way it can be sad when it occurs and not after, you know? Especially because we're in object shows. Majority of object shows, batshit insane host proceeds to disintegrate the character who gets eliminated. This is normal stuff around here. this is normal. But like, I get it, but it's doing it too fast, right? And it's a criticism that, you know, even big shows get, right? Pretty consistent. Like, I know that the Game Overs pilot, the new big glitch thing, right? Like, that got significant criticism because Kit ends up having a very similar type of scene in episode 1 in the pilot, when it's like, we don't have connection, right? So it doesn't feel sad. Right, and that's exactly how it goes, right? With this as well. So it's interesting to kind of see it. Then eventually Wacky proceeds to go over there, be like, "No, all right, guys, let's go do the challenge now." And they proceed to go over because, of course, they have to, right? And Wacky Toybot proceeds to have red eye and do stuff. I mean, like, in terms of the animation quality of the episode, it remains very, very extremely expressive. Maybe not the most movement, right? Like, the characters, like, they don't move a lot. They don't have extremely fluid movement, but they have an extremely dynamic range of expressiveness. Dare I even say, probably, I would argue that it might be the most expressive set of facial expressions that you can possibly have. I don't know if I've seen more range in how a facial expression can be than how they are in this show. It's truly absurd, right? And it takes every opportunity to showcase that, and it fits with the vibe, right? So, absolutely good stuff on that department. The voice acting is also fine. GG's to the people involved. Then we have the post-credit scene with of course the scene and everything. The post-credit scene is the Wacky Talkie, which exists now. Ends up having a little bit of a sound. That's kind of interesting because, like, it's not like an intelligible sound, right? Right. So that's kind of an interesting sound. Maybe like, my original theory when I was watching the episode was that maybe they actually did get hit by that, because they end up saying, "I hope you die one day," right? Crown says that, and then Wacky proceeds to have kind of these baggy eyes for it. So that's kind of what's going on there. Maybe they're also glitching out a little bit, right? In that scene as well. So it's possible that they're either glitching out, or maybe they actually got seriously impacted by it, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's kind of hard to tell. We don't know much about Wacky yet. There's only been about like 12 minutes of show in total, so, you know, there's only been about 12. Like, again, like, the fact, but, like, we're on like 10 minutes of this discussion for a 6-minute episode. Usually I'd be wrapping it up by now, but I'm barely done, because, again, the amount of things that happen, like the GDP per capita of the show is way higher. Like, it has so many things happening at once. And again, this is less, but, like, it's still a lot, right? It's still very fast. I have nothing against it being very fast. It's just, I have to point it out, right? Because it's very different, right? It's very but I mean, I do have a problem when narrative it goes fast. Right? That's kind of the thing. Like, if it's paced fast for gags and bits, yeah, that you can do that. If it's rushing its narrative as well, though, beyond it, then it's just looking like a mess, right? And I think it is mildly rushing its narrative, right? It could have try to give us a bit more knowledge of the dynamic if we're gonna eliminate a character and have it be that big of a deal, right? That's kind of what I think. But yeah, there we go. That's the Wacky Toy Box 2. Very interesting show that's doing very interesting things in a very different way. Is it landing them? Yeah, I'd say it's doing things for sure. By the way, shout out to the Digital Circus outro song. Has to be one of the. I hope I said this in the first episode as well. But I gotta re-say it here again. Right? It's been a couple months. But like that is, man, that truly is like one of the best pieces. Like when it comes to outro, like it's like it hits so good in an outro of a show. I don't know. Like come on. But overall, yeah. There we go. That's the Wacky Toy Box 2 chat. Enjoyable, but I think it's rushing its narrative a little bit more. If it wants to do plot points of such importance, it should try to build them beforehand, so that way we have a knowledge of how important the scene is before it happens, right? Because otherwise, it just feels like stuff and shit happening. That's my main tip for it. Outro. And there we go. That is episode, who knows, of Object Catchup. Yeah, we are back. We did do it. This is how I roughly plan to do Object Catchup from this current moment, alright? So, I'm generally going to be doing some more things, right, from time in these moments, right, because I'm doing the tournament, and I also want to do some other projects as well. Of course, it's summertime, so I got to take advantage of it. The birthday very soon. Actually, it'll be my birthday when this is uploaded. It'll be May 31st here in Europe. It'll be late day May 30th for you US people, but it's going to be my birthday, because my birthday's on May 31st. But, like, yeah, I'll be 18. I'll be trying more things out. Maybe not many on this channel, but, like, certain other projects, and just kind of wanting to space out a little bit, because there was like that multi-month period where I was only doing catch-up, and therefore I could input like 7 hours of one day on it, and I was like, okay, yeah, but then at that point but then like right now it's just not the most fulfilling thing in the world. Right? So that's kind of the current situation with it. So I currently don't plan on directly forcing catch to be daily again, but what I'm currently gonna plan to do is I'm gonna try to see, right, to have usually I'll try to aim, all right, for roughly a 3-hour episode when it's done, right? It'll be like I'll try to do bits and pieces here and there, and then when there's 3 hours of things, I'll send it out, right? Unless of course it's covering a specific show. Is doing a special. It'll be majority of the time it'll be focused on the keep ups, because you know we gotta keep up with the shows. With like here and there we'll try to sort out the requests and like new big shows, of course, that I have to watch, because those are important, and of course, like, we do have to take a look at it, but, like, the keep-ups take priority. So I'll say that, for example, the next episode will probably still be a keep-up, but afterwards, you know, it might take a little detour to do one of the bigger shows, right? And then afterwards, a couple more episodes, and then a detour to do some of the quests, right? Something like that, right? Keeping those side details, those side catch-up things a bit more on the side as the keep-ups need to flourish, right? But yeah, we'll just need to see how much time I specifically have. In the next few days, I probably won't, because, of course, again, birthday. And then, theoretically, the next week of not the next week, the next round of the tournament should hopefully be capable of happening, which is of course 2 videos in 2 days, and I'll need to see then. All right, make sure to again check out the tournament if you haven't. It's watchable content for anybody, which is different, right? I have to point that out because of course catch up is very kind of like you need to have watched the show to be able to do it. The tournament, no, you don't need to do it. You can directly just watch the round video without having prior knowledge of different object shows, because it's just the creators making new content. It's new object show content that you can watch, and I absolutely do want to point it out in the way of a kind of being, because it's important, right? And I think that you should absolutely check it out. But anyways, that's enough shilling myself. That's enough shilling myself. That is the episode. So basically, the TLDR is Catchup, not going to be directly daily. I'm going to try to make the average episode length 3 hours. And they're mostly going to be keep-up episodes. There's not going to be any direct rhyme or reason to the things chosen, though, which I'm going to change, because like, while doing it in chronological release order was like more fair, it's also more anxiety inducing, because of course missing things and having to do a certain thing, which when it's a bigger situation, like if it's a big thing in a small day, then I'm fucked, right? There's kind of one of those things where here I can pick and choose directly depending on the amount of time. So that's kind of the situation. All right, hopefully you understand. That is all for today's episode of Object Catchup. See you next time.